Chapter 1157. You're too noisy. Chapter 1157. You're too noisy. At the North Region Dao meet, there were many aristocratic families and paragons present alongside Dharma characteristic Dao lords that overlooked the entire event. If these factions, paragons, and Dharma characteristic Dao lords were intimidated by a void reversion at such a grand event, they would definitely become the laughing stock of the cultivation world if news of this spread. Those who could cultivate to the void reversion or Dharma characteristic realm were all people with strong wills, and it was difficult for them to be scared off by a few sentences. In the eyes of the cultivators, it was inevitable that Desolate Marshall's combat strength would decrease significantly after reconstructing his body. Although he had just suppressed Yuan Wushuang forcefully, he had released extremely powerful Dharmic arts and had expended a lot of energy. How long could he sustain such expenditure? There were thousands of void reversions on their side. On Desolate Marshall's side, even if the two lions were included, there were only 5 void reversions. It was clear who was stronger. Furthermore, Desolate Marshall had once killed 8 titular disciples. He definitely had countless treasures and secret skills. By killing Desolate Marshall, they would have a chance to split the treasures. In reality, the cultivators who had such thoughts did not witness the battle at the Dao Inheritance Ground personally, and their understanding of Desolate Marshall was limited to the legends. In fact, these paragons even doubted the authenticity of the legends. There were even some cultivators who wanted to take advantage of the situation to steal some gains. After Su Zimo said that, some cultivators retreated outside the battlefield with grim expressions. They had witnessed the battle between Desolate Marshall and many titular disciples before. Without witnessing it personally, it was hard to imagine how shocking that battle was. Even if Desolate Marshall's combat strength was greatly reduced after reconstructing his body and he did not have any helpers, they intended to wait and see for the time being. Hee. Suddenly, a sneer sounded in midair. Dao being 100 Ghost's figure swayed, and suddenly, many figures appeared from his body, surrounding the entire stone platform. Those figures looked no different from Dao being 100 Ghost. Even their auras, cultivation realms, expressions, and voices were identical. Ghost Parade. Ghost Sect's secret skill. There were extremely few cultivators who could cultivate it successfully, and Dao being 100 Ghost relied on that secret skill to become one of the paragons of the void reversion realm. A stir broke out amongst the crowd. It was the first time for many cultivators to witness such a technique, and they were shocked. Those who could represent the North region to participate in this Dao meet naturally had powerful trump cards and were outstanding. Su Zimo furrowed his brows slightly. That secret skill could not be considered as a clone technique. A clone meant that it had inherited some of the combat strength of the main body, more or less. If Dao being 100 Ghost could create 100 clones with combat strength, his reputation would be far from this level. It was more like an illusion technique that could confuse reality. Of course, if he were to use this illusion technique properly, it would be enough for him to manipulate his opponents in the palms of his hands. Uncle Zhang, can you tell which is the true body? Yulan asked softly. Uncle Zhang shook his head. I can't tell. Even with my spirit consciousness, I can't sense the difference between these figures. Yulan's heart skipped a beat. If even Dharma characteristic Dao lords could not see through the flaw of the secret skill, Desolate Marshall. The 100 figures opened their mouths at the same time and buzzed. It was impossible to tell which was the true body. Just because you didn't kill anyone doesn't mean that you're merciful. Dao being 100 Ghosts said coldly. Instead, that's proof of your guilty conscience because you know how to judge the situation. You know very well that the paragons of the North region Dao meet are gathered, and even Dharma characteristic Dao lords are present. You won't dare to be too brazen. You didn't kill anyone because you didn't dare. Before Dao being 100 Ghost could finish, Su Zimo swept his gaze and his body was shrouded in electric arcs. In a flash, he charged towards a figure. Dao being 100 Ghost was alarmed. Swoosh! Ghostly figures appeared one after another, revealing sinister expressions and killing intent as they lunged towards Su Zimo. If any other cultivator were to face the incoming figures, they would either defend or dodge. their movement speed would definitely be affected. However, Su Zimo's speed did not decrease at all. Instead, it increased exponentially. In a flash, he passed through the figures and arrived before one of them. He had long seen through the fact that these ghostly figures were merely illusions and did not have any combat strength at all. Naturally, he was fearless. The reason why he was able to locate the only true body of the 100 figures was not because of his eyesight and spirit consciousness, but because of his unfathomable spirit perception. There was no difference between the 100 ghostly figures. However, there was only a single ghostly figure that had a killing intent that alerted his spirit perception. Dao Being 100 Ghost's expression changed starkly. He had not expected that his most reliable secret skill would be so weak against Su Zimo. Lightning escape was extremely fast. By the time Dao Being 100 Ghost realized that something was amiss and wanted to retreat, it was already too late. Su Zimo extended his palm and spread his fingers. In a flash, he grabbed Dao Being 100 Ghost's throat and lifted him up. The 100 ghostly figures dissipated completely. All that was left was a figure that was strangled by Su Zimo. His feet were in the air, kicking wildly. The crowd was in an uproar. Many cultivators were still trying to determine which was Dao Being 100 Ghost's true body. However, Dao Being 100 Ghost had already fallen into Su Zimo's hands. "You're too noisy," Su Zimo said coldly with an expressionless face. "If you dare to kill me, don't even think about leaving alive." Dao Being 100 Ghost's face was purple as he glared at Su Zimo and let out his final word. "How noisy?" Su Zimo exerted strength in his palm and crushed Dao Being 100 Ghost's throat. Lightning flashed and surged into Dao Being 100 Ghost's consciousness, shattering his essence spirit. Dao Being 100 Ghost was dead. When Su Zimo realized that his retreat could not solve the problem, there was only one other way out. Kill him. The Dharma characteristic Dao Lord of Yin Ghost sect ordered with a frosty expression. The cultivators present were already tense to begin with. When they heard the order, all of them burst forth and attacked. With the Mystic Magnet Mountain guarding the stone platform, some metal-type Dharmic weapons were absorbed by the Mystic Magnet Mountain the moment they arrived. Many cultivators reacted immediately and either put away their Dharmic weapons or took out weapons of other materials. Bang, bang, bang. Dharmic arts descended one after another. At that moment, at least 1,000 void reversions attacked with torrential Dharmic powers and terrifying might, almost forming a tsunami of Dharmic powers that wanted to drown Su Zimo's group. In the face of such power, Yulan felt her heart tremble. Given her cultivation, she would definitely die if she was sucked into it. Uncle Zhang protected her hurriedly and retreated outside. The Dharmic powers tsunami crushed down with a tremendous might, as though it wanted to destroy all living beings on the battlefield. Kuka's face was pale. Although she was at the Void Reversion Realm, she had never seen such a terrifying attack. In the face of such power, she was too insignificant. Even if she resisted, she wouldn't be able to cause any waves in the tsunami. The Golden Lion was someone who had experienced the Battle of Myriad Phenomenon City after all. After that major event, he was able to maintain his composure right now. "Cuckoo, don't worry," the Golden Lion consoled softly. "Pa." Su Zimo chanted Sanskrit and conjured hand seals repeatedly with both hands. His black hair danced and a shimmering golden barrier was formed on his body. The golden barrier enveloped the Golden Lion, Cuckoo, and Yin Qi. Su Zimo's Dharma characteristic was dignified like an ancient golden Buddha that stood in the midst of a raging tsunami, unmoved despite the impact of the tides. The immovable foundation seal, Night Spirit's figure, had long vanished. Chapter 1158. You're worthy of playing with fire? Chapter 1158. You're worthy of playing with fire. More than 1,000 Dharmic arts were blocked by Su Zimo alone. The surrounding cultivators were shocked. Su Zimo's essence spirit was nourished by the creation Green Lotus and cultivated the top 3 divine cultivation techniques of the Immortal, Buddhist, and Fiend sects. It was comparable to Dharma characteristic Dao Lords. With the help of the Mingwang prayer beads, He released the damning mantra along with the immovable foundation seal. Su Zimo's defense was pushed to its limits. However, the group of cultivators did not stop attacking. Bang! Boom! Boom! Thunder rumbled above the firmaments and dark clouds filled the skies as though they were splashed with ink. Purple lightning flashed through the clouds. Purple thunderstorm. Su Zimo hollered and pointed forward. Under the dark clouds, streaks of lightning rained down and intertwined, forming a storm that connected the heavens and the earth. Before the group of cultivators could attack, Su Zimo had already counterattacked. The storm howled and swept into the crowd. Some of the cultivators who could not dodge in time were sucked into the storm. Lightning filled their bodies, and they let out tragic cries as their life force was destroyed by the terrifying thunderbolt. Some cultivators had weak bodies and were torn to pieces by the purple thunderstorm, their essence spirits destroyed. The cultivators dodged and the crowd was in chaos. Desolate Marshal, die! A sword beam flashed over with a sharp edge and arrived instantly. In the blink of an eye, it had already arrived at the back of Su Zimo's head. That slash had already unleashed the killing intent of the sword Dao completely. The entire void was almost torn into two. It was Dao being Zimu, one of the North region's twin swords. Without even looking, Su Zimo closed two fingers of his left hand and formed a sword finger. Circulating his mental cultivation, he slashed forward gently. Chi! A blazing sword chi shot out. The heaven-slaying sword chi reappeared. In the face of the heaven-slaying sword chi, Dao being Zimu's sword Dao was like a joke that was easily destroyed. Pissed, Dao being Zimu's pupils constricted and he gasped. He had never seen such a terrifying sword chi. The killing power contained within the sword chi almost caused his heart to stop beating. Clang! The sword chi collided with his sword. Crack! 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 Cracks appeared on the sword. His destiny Dharmic weapon was shattered by the sword chi. Poof! Numerous shards flew towards Dao being Zimu with endless sharpness, entering his body instantly and creating blood beams. They were too close, and it was too late for Dao being Zimu to dodge. Dao being Zimu's eyes widened, and his gaze was starting to lose focus as his life force drained rapidly. When the sword fragments entered his body, they had already destroyed his life force completely. His essence spirit could not escape. Thump! Dao being Zimu's corpse fell stiffly forward. He had fallen in Qian Heaven City. The second heaven-slaying sword chi descended and killed another paragon. Piak! On the stone pillar, heavenly piercing sword sect's Dharma characteristic Dao Lord was shocked when he saw that. He slammed the table and stood up with endless rage in his eyes. Desolate Marshal. Two words popped out from the gaps between his teeth, filled with immense hatred. The moment Dao being Zimu attacked, another sword cultivator arrived in front of Su Zimo and shook his sword gently. Whoosh! Instantly, hundreds of swords materialized in front of him in a surreal manner and stabbed towards Su Zimo, Dao being Illusion Light, the other sword cultivator of the North region's twin swords. The sword lights were resplendent and blinding. This sword technique could not only confuse a cultivator's spirit consciousness, the sword lights were able to restrict the cultivator's vision completely as well. The clashing of the swords affected the cultivator's hearing. The descent of that sword technique almost sealed Su Zimo's five senses. Su Zimo's expression was unchanged, and he closed his eyes. Relying on his spirit perception, he suddenly reached out and grabbed forward. Hundreds of sword shadows dispersed. Dao being Illusion Light sword was already in Su Zimo's palm. Dao being Illusion Light was delighted when he saw that. Break! He hollered and wanted to make use of the sharpness of his sword to slice off Su Zimo's palm. However, his expression changed very quickly. The sword laid quietly in Su Zimo's palm without moving at all. The sharpness of the sword did not even manage to slice through Su Zimo's skin. This? Dao being Illusion Light was stunned. How could this be? How could Dao being Desolate Marshal still withstand the sharpness of a Khanate Dao being Dharmic weapon after he reconstructed his body? Su Zimo opened his eyes and looked at Dao being Illusion Light with a hint of mockery. Suddenly, His palm went limp and exerted a tremble, coil and yank. "Ah!" Dao being illusion light exclaimed. Suddenly, he felt a massive power burst forth from the other end of his sword. His palm was torn and blood gushed out. He could no longer hold on to the hilt of his sword, and it flew out of his hands. Su Zimo had yanked it over. Su Zimo snatched Dao being illusion light sword and threw it in reverse without hesitation. The two of them were extremely close. The entire process of snatching and throwing the sword was completed in one breath. Coupled with the fact that Su Zimo's burst power was way too great, the sword turned into a cold beam of light and disappeared into Dao being illusion light's glabella in a flash. Poof! The sword pierced Dao being illusion light's head, and his essence spirit was destroyed on the spot. In almost a single round, Dao being illusion light was nailed to death by his own destiny Dharmic weapon. How ruthless! The cultivators who did not advance and hid from afar watched with shocked expressions and were speechless. If it was them, they would definitely be wary against the encirclement of so many sects and Dharma-characteristic Dao lords. To think that Dao being desolate martial would be so decisive to kill without giving any respect to even Dharma-characteristic Dao lords. Fire snake entanglement. Dao being blazing son of Blaze Columbus Valley conjured hand seals repeatedly, and the surrounding temperature rose continuously. A fiery red aura emanated from his hands and formed a gigantic fire snake that was dozens of feet long in midair. The fire snake was lifelike and its entire body was burning with flames. Some cultivators could not dodge in time and were instantly engulfed by the flames, dying on the spot. Heavens, how is that a fire snake? It's a fire dragon! The crowd exclaimed. The dozens of feet-long fire snake raised its head and flicked its tongue, emitting flames all over its body. None of the surrounding cultivators dared to approach it. Kill him! Dao being blazing sun pointed at Su Zimo. The fire snake seemed to possess intelligence and could understand Dao being blazing sun's words. With a ferocious glint in its eyes, it charged towards Su Zimo. Su Zimo glanced at the fire snake and sneered. "You think you're worthy of playing with fire in front of me with that puny snake?" Su Zimo channeled the Scarlet Flame Heart Sutra and snapped his fingers. Suddenly, a pitch-black flame appeared on his fingertip. He flicked his finger. The black flames floated and crashed towards the fire snake. The flames swayed weakly, as though they could extinguish at any moment. However, this was the fiend Dao fire that Su Zimo had created through his fiend cultivation. The fire snake was not an actual life form after all. It could not sense how terrifying the fiend Dao fire was at all. Looking at the black flames, the fire snake opened its mouth and swallowed the black flames. However, the fire snake froze in midair very quickly. Swoosh! Under countless gazes, countless black flames surged out of the fire snake's body. In the blink of an eye, it was incinerated. The scarlet fire snake was reduced to a gigantic snake that burned with black flames. However, it did not dissipate. Instead, it turned its head and charged towards Dao being blazing sun. Under the burning of the fiend Dao fire, the fire snake had already fallen into the fiend Dao and the flames on its body became even more terrifying. It was no longer under Dao being blazing sun's control. Chapter 1159, Attack of the Dao Lords. Chapter 1159, Attack of the Dao Lords. Dao being blazing sun's expression changed starkly. The secret skill that he had cultivated for 1,000 years was no match for the black flame in desolate Marshall's hands. In the blink of an eye, the gigantic snake that was burning with black flames had already closed in. It raised its head and coiled around him. Dao being blazing sun did not have time to think as he channeled his spirit consciousness once more and conjured hand seals repeatedly. A ball of scorching flames rose from his body. Flames surged into the skies. His figure almost disappeared, and there was only a gigantic fireball left in midair. The gigantic snake in black flame's body shrank and coiled continuously. The fiend Dao fire on the gigantic snake collided intensely with the fireball and devoured one another. The two different types of flames fought. After a momentary stalemate, the Fiend Dao fire gained the upper hand. The flames released by the fireball gradually turned black. Before long, a tragic cry sounded from the fireball. Dao Being Blazing Sun's figure reappeared. He waved his arms in midair and struggled continuously. Black flames burst forth from within his body and burned towards the outside. His eyes, ears, mouth, and nose were filled with black flames that were terrifying. In just a few breaths, Dao Being Blazing Sun's figure disappeared in midair. This paragon of the Void Reversion Realm was burned to a crisp by the Fiend Dao fire, and his body and spirit were destroyed. Bang! 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 Many Dharmic arts descended once more, and the void trembled. Su Zimo's eyes lit up and two balls of fire blazed. At the same time, a scarlet flame and a golden flame appeared beside him. They were the immortal and Buddhist Dao fires. In midair, the Fiend Dao fire that burned Dao Being Blazing Sun to ashes floated and returned gradually. 3 balls of flames revolved around Su Zimo's body, slowly like 3 eternal lanterns that illuminated the world. Scarlet Flame Revolving Lantern. Many Dharmic arts descended on Su Zimo's body but were burned by the 3 Dao fires and turned into nothingness. The cultivators were secretly shocked. Although it hadn't been long since the battle broke out, Su Zimo had already killed the strong paragons with his consecutive killing moves. Most importantly, their strength could not even break through Su Zimo's defense. The crowd was restless and chaos was starting to appear. Many cultivators were already thinking of retreating. Right then, another tragic cry sounded from the crowd. The tragic cry came to an abrupt stop. The group of cultivators looked over and saw a paragon of the Duanmu aristocratic family falling from midair. His head was pierced by a sharp object, and there was a hole of blood. It was clear that he was not going to survive. Who killed him? The expressions of the cultivators changed slightly. Under their gazes, Su Zimo did not make a move earlier on. Who did this paragon die to? It's that black-robed man. A cultivator snapped out of his stupor and reminded everyone that there was a black-robed man beside Su Zimo who had disappeared. Suddenly, the cultivator felt a chill run down his spine. Immediately after, many cultivators looked over with fear in their eyes. Unknowingly, a black figure appeared behind the cultivator with an indifferent expression and cold eyes. It was Night Spirit. Reaching out, Night Spirit poked the back of the cultivator's head gently. His fingers were way too sharp and were even more terrifying than divine weapons. He did not even use any strength, and a bloody hole appeared on the cultivator's head. In reality, more than 10 cultivators had died in Night Spirit's hands in that short period of time. However, when the battle broke out, all the cultivators were distracted by Su Zimo, and no one paid any attention. It was only at this moment that everyone realized what happened and could not help but feel a chill in their hearts. Compared to Su Zimo, the black-robed cultivator was even more terrifying. No one knew when they would be suddenly closed in and killed silently and mysteriously. Bang! A petite figure charged over and punched out. Golden light filled the air as she broke through a Dharmic art and killed a paragon. The body of that paragon exploded instantly, and he died on the spot. That petite figure was Nianqi. A cultivator took out a Dharmic weapon made of other materials and slashed at Nianqi's head. Without even looking, Nianqi retaliated with a punch and smashed the Dharmic weapon into pieces. A cultivator released Dharmic arts, and Nianqi released her power of blood qi to clash head-on. The physique of a god race being could defend against divine weapons. The bloodline of a god race being could suppress all Dharmic secret skills. Back in Myriad Phenomenon City, the few god race beings were invincible and unstoppable. It was clear how terrifying the bloodline of the god race was. Nianqi did not need Dharmic weapons. By relying on her body and bloodline of the god race, there were not many people who could defend against her power if she charged into the crowd. This was true divine power. In the blink of an eye, at least 100 void reversions died in the hands of Su Zimo's group. The Dharma characteristic Dao lords on the stone pillars could no longer sit still and stood up one after another. Desolate Marshal deserves to die. The Dharma characteristic Tao Lord of the Yuan clan gritted his teeth in hatred. Are we going to let desolate martial act so brazenly? The Dharma characteristic Tao Lord of Yin Ghost sect had a cold expression. Tao being 100 Ghost was his proudest disciple but was the first to die. This was a fact that the Tao Lord could not accept, and he wanted nothing more than to tear Su Zimo to pieces. However, Su Zimo had a Mahayana patriarch backing him. Many Dharma characteristic Tao Lords were wary, and none of them dared to act rashly. Tao Lord Muyu pondered for a moment before a cold glint flashed through his eyes. Suddenly he said, "I've got it. We can target everyone except Desolate Marshal." The eyes of the cultivators lit up as though they understood something. Tao Lord Bai Ling nodded. "That's a good plan. We'll kill the black-robed man, the golden-haired girl, or the 2 lions. Desolate Marshal will definitely stop us. If he attacks us first, he can't blame us for retaliating. Even if we're careless and kill him by accident, it'll be because he asked for it. What are we waiting for? Let's kill the 2 lions first." The Tao Lord of Heavenly Piercing Sword sect soared into the air and transformed into a sword beam, breaking through the crowd and charging towards the pair of lions. The Golden Lion and Cuckoo were pure-blooded ferocious beasts and would not be disadvantaged against the Void Reversion Paragons present. However, their combat strength was far inferior against Dharma characteristic Tao Lords. Buzz! A sword beam appeared and arrived instantly with a chilling killing intent. Sword Tao was the most murderous. Sensing danger, the Golden Lion did not have time to think. He shielded Cuckoo behind him and flung his Dharmic weapon. Clang! His saber was sliced into 2 by the incoming sword. That saber was a Dharmic weapon he obtained in the ancient battlefield and was also his Destiny Dharmic weapon. With his Destiny Dharmic weapon shattered, his essence spirit was implicated as well. The Golden Lion spat out a mouthful of blood with a dispirited expression. However, he refused to retreat and protected Cuckoo tightly behind him. The sword beam paused for a moment before slashing down once more. All of a sudden, a green light appeared. In a flash, it blocked the terrifying sword beam. Clang! The sword struck the green light with a crisp sound and sparks flew everywhere. The green light froze. The Tao Lord of Heavenly Piercing Sword sect appeared as well. He focused his gaze and could not help but exclaim in disbelief, "Creation Green Lotus." Chapter 1160, Slaying Tao Lords. Chapter 1160, Slaying Tao Lords. The Jade Green Lotus platform revolved slowly and 6 lotus petals bloomed. It was emerald green and shone with an extraordinary glow. All the cultivators looked over with shocked expressions. Was that the legendary supreme treasure of the world, the Creation Green Lotus? Didn't they say that the Creation Green Lotus was already shattered by a half-martial ancestor expert? Why would it reappear now? It can't be. A cultivator said in a deep voice, "This isn't a complete Creation Green Lotus. A true Grade 6 Creation Green Lotus is much stronger than this lotus platform." He had seen with his own eyes a green lotus that soared into the skies and broke through the clouds in the Tao inheritance ground with chaos chi surrounding it. The lotus leaves covered the skies and the stem was jade green. The green lotus swayed and the entire firmament trembled. The impact of that scene and the power that shocked one's heart would never be forgotten. The Tao Lord of Heavenly Piercing Sword sect reacted quickly as well. However, Su Zimo did not give him the chance at all. He closed his fingers and formed a sword seal, waving it forward. Chi! A blinding sword chi surged along Su Zimo's sword finger. Instantly, countless stars with chaotic trajectories appeared in the skies. When the heaven's killing intent is released, the stars are shifted out of alignment. The hairs on Heavenly Piercing Sword sect's Tao Lord suddenly stood on end. Even he felt his heart skip a beat at the sharpness of that sword chi. Just as he was about to make a move, Su Zimo willed the Creation Green Lotus to turn into a green beam of light and charge towards him. The Tao Lord of Heavenly Piercing Sword sect waved his sword to defend. However, the heaven-slaying sword chi had already descended. There was no time for him to dodge at all. He could only use his free hand to conjure a Dharmic art to conjure a sword chi barrier that buzzed endlessly in an attempt to block the heaven-slaying sword chi. Clang, clang, clang. Although they were both sword daos, the collision of the two completely different sword daos created a sword chi storm instantly. An extremely sharp sword chi storm swept over and engulfed the Dao Lord of Heavenly Piercing Sword sect instantly. Before long, the storm dissipated. The Dao Lord of Heavenly Piercing Sword sect stood motionlessly on the spot, his body stiff as the light in his eyes faded gradually. SK, SK, TSK. Suddenly, streaks of blood appeared on his cheeks and neck, spewing blood. Sword scars appeared on his body as well. Under the engulfment of the sword chi storm, the Dao Lord of Heavenly Piercing Sword sect had already lost his life force and his spirit was destroyed. This scene caused a commotion among the cultivators. Even if Su Zimo killed all the Void Reversion Paragons present, most cultivators would be able to endure it. After all, Desolate Marshal had been famous for a long time. If he did not have any trump cards, he would have been killed a long time ago and would not have lived to this day. However, after Desolate Marshal's body was destroyed, he could still kill Dharma characteristic Dao Lords across a major cultivation realm. That was rather terrifying. Desolate Marshal, you attacked us first. Don't blame us for killing you. Dao Lord Muyu said coldly. Many Dharma characteristic Dao Lords surrounded him. All the Dharma characteristic Dao Lords present had lived for thousands of years and had sharp eyes. They could tell that although the sword chi released by Desolate Marshal was extremely powerful, the third sword chi was clearly a spent force. There were thousands of paragons at the North Region Dao meet. Endless Dharmic arts descended from the skies at the same time. Even if Desolate Marshal could defend against them, it would consume his essence, spirit, and Dharmic powers immensely. Desolate Marshal could not hold on for much longer. Cut the crap. Su Zimo reached out and touched his glabella gently. Beams of green light burst forth from his glabella. In his consciousness, 54 green lotus seeds were condensed continuously, forming a jade-green sword. Slay. He pointed forward and the green lotus sword burst forth, descending on Dao Lord Mu Yu's head instantly. The green lotus sword was a killing technique that targeted the essence spirit and was the sharpest. When the Dharma characteristic Dao Lords present sensed the aura of the green lotus sword, they were alarmed and retreated instinctively, wanting to avoid the sharpness of the sword. Dao Lord Mu Yu wanted to retreat as well, but he knew that no matter how fast his movement technique was, he could not match the speed of the green lotus sword. Without hesitation, Dao Lord Mu Yu conjured his essence spirit and released an essence spirit secret skill. The massive spirit consciousness condensed continuously, forming a gigantic vine that coiled towards the incoming green lotus sword. Everyone, help me. At the same time, Dao Lord Mu Yu roared. Although the green lotus sword was powerful, all the Dharma characteristic Dao Lords present could definitely shatter it if they attacked at the same time. As long as he could defend for a moment and the other Dharma characteristic Dao Lords reacted and helped him, he would be able to escape alive. Unfortunately, his essence spirit secret skill could not defend against the killing power of the green lotus sword. A green glow burst forth with a boundless sharpness, slicing the vines that were coiling over into two. Subsequently, the green lotus sword entered Dao Lord Mu Yu's glabella. Poof! Many cultivators could almost hear the sound of Dao Lord Mu Yu's essence spirit being sliced apart. Dao Lord Mu Yu's expression darkened as he fell from midair. There were no wounds on his body, but his spirit consciousness was empty. His essence spirit had already been sliced into nothingness by the green lotus sword. Kill. Bang. 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 It was only now that many essence spirit secret skills arrived and struck the green lotus sword, shattering it into pieces. The green lotus sword scattered into 54 dark green lotus seeds and returned to the creation lotus platform. As long as he had enough time to nourish it, the power of the green lotus seeds would recover to its original state. Desolate Marshal, let's see how many tricks you have left. The Dao Lord of Een Ghost sect said sinisterly. All of a sudden, A blurry figure appeared behind him like a ghost. Right away, it reached out and grabbed the Tao Lord of Yin Ghost Sect. Oomph! I was prepared. The Tao Lord of Yin Ghost Sect swayed and vanished from where he was, leaving only his erratic voice. Poof! The moment he said that, the figure of the Tao Lord of Yin Ghost Sect was revealed and he froze on the spot motionlessly. His forehead was pierced by a purple object and was dripping with blood. The Tao Lord of Yin Ghost Sect was already dead. He managed to dodge Night Spirit's claws, but not his tail. "You're a demon," Tao Lord Bai Ling hollered. This black-robed man had managed to hide from their senses. "I've got it." In the crowd, Uncle Zhang seemed to have thought of something and was enlightened. Initially, I could not understand how the two imperial advisors of Great Xia and Great Shang died silently. Furthermore, there was even some demonic qi left in their wounds. He looked at Night Spirit in midair and said, "The answer is him." Upon hearing Uncle Zhang's analysis, Yulan remained silent and looked at the battlefield with a lost expression, as though she had lost her soul. "Princess, are you all right?" Uncle Zhang could not help but ask. "I'm fine." Yulan smiled sadly. "I finally understand what he once said to me. He said that as long as desolate martial lives, I'll never be able to restore my dynasty and topple the great Zhou." Yulan's expression dimmed as she shook her head. He's not wrong. The Empress of Great Zhou has desolate martial backing her, and I won't be able to win. I'll never be able to restore my dynasty. Uncle Zhang did not say anything either. The power displayed by desolate martial truly made him feel despair. The despair of being powerless to resist. Chapter 1161, Demon Refinement Formation. Chapter 1161, Demon Refinement Formation. When he saw many Dharma characteristic Tao Lords join the fight, Su Zimo's expression turned grim. He made a prompt decision and sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness, "Retreat." The consecutive battles had consumed a lot of his Dharmic powers. Most of the Void Reversions and Dharma characteristic Tao Lords of the North region were gathered at the North region Tao meet. Although there were no Tao Lords from super sects present, the fact that so many Paragon Tao Lords were involved was not to be underestimated. While Su Zimo's combat strength was strong, and he even had some trump cards that could kill Dharma characteristic Tao Lords, he was not strong enough to take on so many Dharma characteristic Tao Lords head-on. If it was just him and Night Spirit, they could escape unscathed at any moment. Given Yin Qi's strength, she might be able to break out of the encirclement as well. However, the Golden Lion and Kuka might not be able to escape. Once the battle broke out, he had to ensure the safety of the Golden Lion and Kuku first. "Yin Qi, kill your way out with 7 and Kuku. Night Spirit and I will cover for you." Su Zimo immediately sent a voice transmission and gave an order. This was Qian Heaven City and was not far from some aristocratic families. The event held here was also the North Region Tao meet. The various major sects and factions would definitely receive news of the bloody battle that broke out in Qian Heaven City. If they were to be trapped in the city, they would most likely die by the time mighty figures of the upper sects and aristocratic families arrived. "All right." Nodding her head, Yin Qi took the lead and charged at the front, bursting forth with golden blood qi. Like a god, she broke through the layers of obstacles and charged out of the city slowly. The Golden Lion and Kuku followed closely behind and attacked continuously, trying their best to help Yin Qi resolve the pressure. In reality, the impact they faced was not too great. That was because most Dharma characteristic Tao Lords were already blocked by Su Zimo and Night Spirit and could not head over. "You're still trying to escape?" Sensing the intentions of Su Zimo and the others, Tao Lord Bai Ling said coldly with a cold expression, "Desolate Marshal, don't even think about leaving Qian Heaven City alive today." "Demon Refinement Formation, activate," Tao Lord Bai Ling shouted. Su Zimo's expression changed when he heard that voice. He suddenly recalled something. Back in the intermediate ancient battlefield, he was plotted against by Glass Palace and fell into an omnidirectional demon suppression formation where he nearly died. The demon suppression formation was activated with the 4 demon revealing mirrors on the city walls. Coupled with the unique formation patterns, it could suppress demons to the spot. A row of demon-revealing mirrors were placed on the city walls of Qian Heaven City. Initially, Suzimo thought that the demon-revealing mirrors were only used to check if any fiend demons had infiltrated the city. At that moment, when he heard Dao Lord Bai Ling's roar, he realized that there was another use for the demon-revealing mirrors on the city walls. Desolate Marshal, do you think that you can come and go as you please in Qian Heaven City? How important is the North Region Dao Meet? It's not a place where beasts like you can cause trouble. Many Dharma characteristic Dao Lords sneered. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. On the city wall, Dharma characteristic Dao Lords were already standing there. They constantly changed hand seals and shot Dharmic powers into the demon-revealing mirrors beside them. Back then, the demon suppression formation only used the demon-revealing mirrors. At that moment, there were 10 demon-revealing mirrors on every wall. Furthermore, the technique of this formation was not to suppress demons, but to refine them. It was even more powerful. Whoosh! The 10 demon-revealing mirrors on the eastern wall released 10 beams of light that fused into one and enveloped Suzimo. It was the same on the southern city wall. A beam of light formed by the 10 demon-revealing mirrors sped towards Night Spirit. The demon-revealing mirrors on the west and north walls condensed 2 beams of light that enveloped Nian Qi, the Golden Lion, and Cuckoo. The speed of the beams was way too fast. Even with Suzimo's reaction, he could not dodge in time. He was enveloped by the beam of light. Immediately after, flames ignited within the range of the beam of light and burned towards his body. Suzimo narrowed his eyes. The power of the demon refinement formation was indeed not negligible. Even his green lotus true body felt a burning pain from the flames. Of course, the pain was still within his tolerance. If not for the fact that the green lotus true body had received nourishment from the primordial divine spring a year ago, he would definitely suffer immensely in this envelopment by the demon refinement array. As the name suggested, the demon refinement array was even more terrifying against demons. If even the green lotus true body felt pain from the flames, it was not hard to imagine what would happen if the beam of light were to land on the Golden Lion and Cuckoo. Given the strength of the 2 lions, they would most likely be burned to ashes within a few breaths. Without hesitation, Suzimo sent out the Creation Lotus platform with his spirit consciousness. The Lotus platform emitted a green glow that was as crystalline as jade as it spun slowly, blocking the other beam of light that shot towards the Golden Lion and Cuckoo. The Golden Lion and Cuckoo panted slightly with pale faces and lingering fear. A third beam of light enveloped Nian Qi. Nian Qi's expression changed slightly as she hollered and her blood qi surged to its limits. Bang! Boom! Boom! Behind her, an ancient and mysterious pyramid appeared. Countless living beings knelt on the ground with pious expressions and chanted continuously. The power of the demon refinement formation forced out Nian Qi's bloodline phenomenon. Against the light of the mysterious pyramid, Nian Qi was like a god that could not be looked at and blocked the beam of light. Of the 4 beams, Night Spirit had the easiest time dealing with it. The beam was so fast that even Suzimo could not dodge it. However, the light beam could not catch up to Night Spirit at all. His movement technique was even faster than light. Under the pursuit of the light beam, Night Spirit even had the strength to kill the cultivators present. On the surface, the 4 beams of light from the demon refinement array seemed to have been blocked by Suzimo and the others, neutralizing them one by one. However, the Dharma characteristic Dao Lords present knew that victory was within their grasp. The golden-haired girl was already rooted to the ground by the beam of the demon refinement formation. Although the 2 lions were not threatened by the demon refinement array, without the golden-haired girl's help, they were most likely doomed under the attacks of many cultivators. As for Dao being Desolate Marshal's combat strength, it was greatly reduced as well. At the very least, his Destiny Dharmic weapon, the Creation Lotus platform, was locked down by a beam of light. The unknown demon in black was the only one left. There was nothing to fear. Everyone, kill this lad right now. Tao Lord Bai Ling's aura burst forth as he shouted. That's right, everyone. Don't hold back. Immediately, Dharma characteristic Tao Lords responded. Bang, bang, bang. One after another, gigantic figures charged out of the bodies of the Dharma characteristic Tao Lords and rose from the ground. They were dozens of feet tall and looked down at the battlefield with immense might. A heaven and earth Dharma characteristic. This was the most powerful technique of Dharma characteristic Tao Lords. Prior to this, Su Zimo had used his strongest trump card to kill Dharma characteristic Tao Lords because he did not want to give them the chance to use their heaven and earth Dharma characteristics. Heaven and earth Dharma characteristics could manipulate the power of the heaven and earth with a single move. Even with Su Zimo's combat strength, he would find it troublesome. But now, Dharma characteristic after Dharma characteristic rose against the tide and stood in the Qian Heaven City like gigantic gods with torrential auras. Chapter 1162, Gathering of Brothers. Chapter 1162, Gathering of Brothers. Hundreds of heaven and earth Dharma characteristics rose against the tide. Some were 40 feet, some were 50 feet. Tao Lord Bai Ling's heaven and earth Dharma characteristic was even more than 60 feet tall. A 60 feet tall Dharma characteristic was already qualified to fight for the Dharma characteristic ranking. In the face of the heaven and earth Dharma characteristics that towered into the skies, Su Zimo and the others seemed extremely tiny. Bang, bang, bang. Almost at the same time, hundreds of heaven and earth Dharma characteristics charged over. Their massive bodies swayed and their feet stomped on the ground, causing the entire city to tremble. A Dharma characteristic was actually a summary of cultivation and condensation. It was the union of all Dharmic techniques. The endpoint for many Dharmic arts and secret skills was to eventually form their own Dharma characteristics. Dharma characteristics could connect to heaven and earth and mobilize the power of heaven and earth to its greatest extent. The power of heaven and earth was immense and unyielding. Even if a cultivator's body was weak, the heaven and earth Dharma characteristic that they cultivated would be able to fight demons in close combat. Only after cultivating to the Dharma characteristic realm would cultivators truly be unafraid of demons. The combined power of hundreds of heaven and earth Dharma characteristics was devastating. Su Zimo was only at void reversion realm. Even if his essence spirit was strong and comparable to Dharma characteristics, he could not defend against the impact of that power without a heaven and earth Dharma characteristic. Even Night Spirit did not dare to take on those heaven and earth Dharma characteristics head-on. Not far behind him, Nian Shi and the Golden Lion were trapped on the spot and could not advance. The situation had already begun to change. As time passed, the situation for Nian Shi and the others would only get tougher. Su Zimo let out a long howl and touched his glabella gently with his finger. His sea of consciousness opened and lightning flashed within. Crackle! He flung out a long whip from his sea of consciousness. It was surrounded by azure electric arcs that were bedazzling. Spirit Vanquishing Whip. Although Su Zimo's Dharmic powers could not withstand the impact of so many heaven and earth Dharma characteristics, his essence spirit was not weaker than the Tao Lords present. Furthermore, the Spirit Vanquishing Whip was an essence spirit secret skill created by the Thunder Emperor and was extremely powerful. Piak. Su Zimo waved the Spirit Vanquishing Whip and whipped a Dharma characteristic Tao Lord. With a series of crackling sounds, bolts of lightning surged into the Dharma characteristic Tao Lord's consciousness and shattered his essence spirit. The Dharma characteristic Tao Lord's head slumped to the side, and he fell from midair. His heaven and earth Dharma characteristic dissipated as well. Pissed. The expressions of many Tao Lords changed when they saw that. What a powerful essence spirit secret skill. This lad is only at the void reversion realm, and the essence spirit secret skill he released can kill a Dharma characteristic Tao Lord. Desolate Marshal is truly a lunatic. A Dharma characteristic Tao Lord cursed with an ugly expression. Among them, many Tao Lords had just activated their essence spirit secret skills to destroy the Green Lotus Sword. There was no way for them to release a second essence spirit secret skill right now. Piak. An azure bolt of lightning flashed and struck another Dharma characteristic Tao Lord. Ah! The Dharma characteristic Tao Lord let out a tragic cry as his body trembled and almost convulsed. Unable to control his body, he fell from midair as well. Although his essence spirit was strong and was not destroyed by the spirit vanquishing whip right away, it was severely injured and would not be able to recover completely in the future. The severe injury of the person's essence spirit caused his heaven and earth Dharma characteristic to dissipate as well. Against the spirit vanquishing whip's killing intent, the Dharma characteristic Tao Lords could only retreat and avoid it. They could only use essence spirit Dharmic weapons to defend against the spirit vanquishing whip. There was no other way. As such, the battlefield was in chaos. Many Dharma characteristic Tao Lords retreated, afraid that they would be struck by the spirit vanquishing whip. Even if they thought that they could withstand the spirit vanquishing whip, they were afraid that their essence spirits would be injured and affect their future cultivation. Piak, piak, piak. Standing in midair, Su Zimo's eyes were like lightning as he waved his hand and brandished the dazzling spirit vanquishing whip to whip the Dharma characteristic Tao Lords. It resembled a scene from the primordial era where the gods enslaved the 10,000 races. At that moment, Su Zimo, who was wielding the spirit vanquishing whip, had an aura that was even more ferocious and imposing than the heaven and earth Dharma characteristics present. Piak, piak, piak. Every single whipping crack would result in a figure falling from midair. Some Dharma characteristic Tao Lords could withstand a single blow from the spirit vanquishing whip while others were whipped to death. For some Dharma characteristic Tao Lords, even if they could defend against the spirit vanquishing whip, they could not avoid Night Spirit's attack. His figure was like a phantom as he shuttled past many Dharma characteristic Tao Lords and released terrifying killing moves. None of the Dharma characteristic Tao Lords could stop Night Spirit's massacre. Kill. Many Dharma characteristic Tao Lords were enraged and released their essence spirit secret skills, charging towards Su Zimo. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat and a ball of golden light burst forth from his left wrist, enveloping him. The Mingwang prayer beads released 4 characters that imprinted themselves on the golden barrier, forming a spirit consciousness barrier. When the essence spirit secret skills descended, the golden barrier trembled. The Mingwang prayer beads were damaged Dharmic weapons after all and could not defend against the impact of so many essence spirit secret skills. Before long, cracks appeared on the golden barrier and it shattered. Su Zimo could only rely on the spirit vanquishing whip to fight against the essence spirit secret skills. The power of the spirit vanquishing whip decreased as well, and its light was dim. Before long, the spirit vanquishing whip dissipated. The Dharma characteristic Tao Lords who were initially dodging the sharpness of the spirit vanquishing whip charged forward furiously once again with their heaven and earth Dharma characteristics. On the other side, Nianqi's combat strength was severely depleted after blocking the beam of the demon refinement formation, and she could no longer protect the Golden Lion and Cuckoo. At that moment, there were already a few wounds on the 2 lions. First, leave. Don't bother about us. The Golden Lion declared loudly, Cuckoo is saved today, and we're reunited. There's no regrets even if we die. There was no fear in Cuckoo's eyes either, as though death was nothing to her. What nonsense are you spouting? Su Zimo said in a deep voice, Nobody will die today. Although he said that, he was feeling anxious. The current situation was already extremely disadvantageous for them. At that moment, it was too late even if he summoned his Dragon True Body. Furthermore, the rules of the Dragon Bone Valley were strict and the Dragon True Body could not leave casually. The only person who could resolve this situation was Night Spirit. However, if that was the case, Night Spirit's true body would be exposed to so many people and his life would be in danger. The 2 of them exchanged glances. Su Zimo could see the determination in Night Spirit's eyes. Even if he were to expose his true body and put himself in danger, he could not let the 2 golden lions die here. That was the intention of Night Spirit's gaze. Gaga gaga. Right then, An ear-piercing laughter sounded from afar like a male duck's throat. However, Suzimo, Night Spirit, and the Golden Lion were stunned when they heard that laughter. Immediately, ecstasy filled their eyes. "You guys are fighting here, and you're not even calling us? How unfriendly." In the distance, a tall and burly figure stood on the city wall. His body was filled with long fur, and his demonic chi surged. He carried a long rod that shone with golden light on his shoulder and was grinning with a wild expression. "Haha, I'm here too." Immediately after, another familiar figure climbed up the city wall with a strong and energetic expression. Behind him, a woman with a graceful figure descended. Her black hair was like a waterfall as she extended her long and slender legs and kicked the former off the city wall. She scolded jokingly, "Hurry and help." Chapter 1163, Imminent Strike. Chapter 1163, Imminent Strike. After the three of them appeared, Kukuo could clearly sense that the Golden Lion's emotions had changed from despair to ecstasy. "Who are they?" she could not help but ask. The Golden Lion grinned widely. "It's Brother Monkey, Brother Tiger, and Sister Ching Ching. I told you about them before. They're all here." "Ah," Cuckoo exclaimed softly with disbelief in her eyes. She had once heard from the Golden Lion that Brother Monkey and the others were in the Thousand Demon Valley of the Middle Continent. To think that they would cross a major region to arrive here. However, a look of worry soon crossed Cuckoo's face. "There are only 3 of them, and they're all at the Void Reversion Realm. Sigh, they'll probably be in danger if they help us." She sighed softly. "Haha." The Golden Lion swept away his initial dejectedness and was filled with pride as he shouted, "Don't be afraid. As long as we siblings join forces, we can go anywhere in the world. What's a mere Qian Heaven City to us?" There were only 3 Dharma characteristic Tao Lords. 2 of them controlled the 10 demon revealing mirrors and dozens of void reversions on the city wall. Everyone could not help but frown when they saw Monkey and the other 2. Where did this beast come from? He doesn't know what's good for him and came knocking to us? A Dharma characteristic Tao Lord said coldly. The reason why there were demon revealing mirrors and demon refinement formations in Qian Heaven City was to prevent fiend demons from infiltrating the city. It had been a long time since a fiend demon dared to invade the Qian Heaven City for so many years, let alone wreak havoc at the North Region Tao meet today. The Dharma characteristic Tao Lord on the city wall did not take the 3 mid-level fiend demons who were equivalent to void reversion seriously at all. "I'm from the Thousand Demon Valley of the Middle Continent." Monkey was fearless against Dharma characteristic Tao Lord and grinned. "How dare you bully my brother? I'll show you what I'm capable of. Die, beast." Many void reversions shouted and attacked. Boom! Monkey's feet landed heavily on the ground, causing the city wall to shake. Cracks appeared on his feet and spread in all directions. The crowd was shocked. How much power was that? Dong! He thumped his left chest and let out a dull thud. The hearts of many cultivators skipped a beat. Monkey charged into the crowd and some void reversions could not dodge in time and were smashed into a blood mist, dying on the spot. A blank space appeared behind Monkey. Among the 7 of them, apart from Suzimo and Night Spirit, Monkey was the strongest. Back in Myriad Phenomenon City, Monkey could fight against the Rakshasa and God Race experts with his full strength. His bloodline was shocking and his body was strong. Many void reversions' Dharmic weapons could not pierce through his skin. Monkey did not use any methods and merely charged forward. Yet, none of the void reversions on the city walls could stop him. "Demon Monkey, don't be arrogant. Watch me suppress you." 2 Dharma characteristic Tao Lords were still controlling the demon revealing mirrors to sustain the demon refinement formation. The remaining Dharma characteristic Tao Lord yelled and soared into the air. The person raised his hand slightly and a silver light flashed. Swash! In the blink of an eye, the silver light descended on Monkey's body and coiled around it, tightening and emitting beams of light. Demon suppressing rope. In the cultivation world, there were many secret skills and Dharmic weapons that targeted demons. The demon-revealing mirror was one of them. The demon-suppressing rope was also a Dharmic weapon like that. Monkey's gaze focused as his blood chi circulated and his flesh expanded, wanting to break free from the demon-suppressing rope. The demon-suppressing rope shone with a bright silver light and tightened instead. Fufu, demon monkey, the more you struggle, the tighter the demon-suppressing rope is bound. The Dharma characteristic Tao Lord had a smug expression as he said in a deep voice, "If you kneel down, beg for mercy and sign a blood oath with me right now, I'll allow you to be my spirit beast and cultivate with me." He was confident. The demon-suppressing rope was a supreme-grade Tao Lord Dharmic weapon. Given the strength of this void reversion demon monkey, there was no way it could break free. Swoosh, swoosh. How could Monkey listen to his nonsense? He channeled his blood chi continuously, and his body expanded under the restraints of the demon-suppressing rope. Creak, creak. There was even a sound coming from the demon-suppressing rope. However, as the person mentioned, the more he struggled, the tighter the demon-suppressing rope became. It even dug deep into his flesh. Humph. Let's see how long you can last, demon monkey. The Dharma characteristic Tao Lord sneered. Monkey's eyes were bloodshot. A blood stench emanated from his body as well. Monkey was the most terrifying in his berserk state where his combat strength would reach its limits. Buzz, buzz. Due to Monkey's immense strength and struggling, the demon-suppressing rope had already left streaks of blood on his body. Fresh blood oozed from the wound. The blood seemed to contain an extremely strong power that tainted the demon-suppressing rope. The silver light on the demon-suppressing rope flickered and dimmed rapidly. The Dharma characteristic Tao Lord's expression changed. Roar. Right then, Monkey suddenly opened his mouth and raised his head, letting out an enraged roar. The blood chi in his body burst forth as he exerted strength and broke free of the demon-suppressing rope with a bang. The demon-suppressing rope was tainted by the demon blood and lost its Dharmic powers. It was torn apart by Monkey and scattered on the ground. You beast! When he saw the scene before him, that person was shocked and could not help but gulp. Being stared at by Monkey's bloodshot eyes, he felt his scalp tingle and his hairs stood on end. Sure. Without any time to think, that person summoned his flying sword and transformed into a cold beam of light that pierced towards Monkey's glabella. Scram! Monkey's large hand slapped on Imminent. The golden rod jumped up from his shoulder and expanded continuously with a blinding golden light, colliding with the incoming flying sword. Piak! A crisp sound rang out when the flying sword collided with Imminent. With a slight pause, cracks appeared on the sword. The Dharma characteristic Tao Lord's pupils constricted. The golden rod was getting closer and larger in his vision. Imminent extended all the way and smashed the Dharma characteristic Tao Lord's body into smithereens. His flesh and spirit were both destroyed. The expressions of the two Dharma characteristic Tao Lords who were controlling the demon-revealing mirrors changed drastically. Boom! Monkey landed on the city wall and soared into the skies, crossing over the heads of many void reversions and arriving above the two Dharma characteristic Tao Lords. His demonic chi was torrential and his blood eyes were terrifying. Break! He roared and swung his gigantic golden rod towards the 10 demon-revealing mirrors with a flash of golden light. That aura and power were way too strong. It was simply devastating. Under the envelopment of the rod, the two Dharma characteristic Tao Lords did not dare to take it head-on and retreated. Boom! Imminent crashed down, smashing heavily against the demon-revealing mirrors with its golden body. All 10 ancient mirrors were shattered by Imminent strike. The light beam that was initially on Yin Qi dissipated instantly. Yin Qi's spirit was invigorated as her bloodline phenomenon that was about to disperse took form once more and fought in all directions. Chapter 1164, 10,000 Demon Army. Chapter 1164, 10,000 Demon Army. On the other side, Qing transformed into her true form and flapped her wings. Before long, She arrived above the southern city wall and raised her head, letting out a long cry. Suddenly, she spat out an exquisite jade-green feathered fan. The fan arrived in midair and expanded rapidly. If one focused their attention, they would discover that every single feather of the fan was burning with a dense flame. Qing channeled her spirit consciousness and injected Dharmic powers, fanning towards the city wall. Swoosh! A ball of green flames surged along the city wall and burned towards the 10 demon revealing mirrors. Many void reversions attacked hurriedly, trying to defend against the spreading flames with their Dharmic arts. The fan struck again. Swoosh! The flames surged and broke through the obstructions of many void reversions, rising against the tide as the temperature on the city wall rose continuously. Many cultivators could not dodge in time, and their bodies were stained with green sparks that could not be extinguished. Instead, they burned brighter. The Dharma characteristic Tao Lord on the city wall had already attacked and released a powerful Dharmic power to suppress the flames on the city wall. Qing let out a long cry and spat out a mouthful of essence blood that landed on the fan. The bloodline of the ferocious beast Bai Fong flowed within Qing's body. Bai Fong was one of the ferocious beasts that specialized in flames. In the ancient books, there were records of the Bai Fong that said that its blood was like lava. A single drop of blood could incinerate a forest. It was clear how powerful its bloodline was. As for the jade-green feathered fan, it was obtained from the ancient battlefield and possessed extraordinary might. Thanks to the stimulation of the Qing bloodline, the Dharmic powers of the fan increased tremendously. Qing controlled the feathered fan and fanned it a third time. Swoosh! This time round, even Dharma characteristic Tao Lords could not stop the flames from spreading. After 3 consecutive fans, the jade-green flames formed a massive firestorm on the city wall that spread towards the demon revealing mirrors. Hurry! Retreat! When the 3 Dharma characteristic Tao Lords saw that, they no longer bothered to activate the demon refinement formation and retreated. The flames engulfed the 10 demon revealing mirrors and crackled. Within moments, the light on the 10 demon revealing mirrors dimmed. The beam of light that was initially on the Creation Lotus platform dissipated as well. With the help of Monkey and Qing, 20 demon revealing mirrors were destroyed in succession. This meant that more than half of the demon refinement formation was gone. Although Su Zimo was still enveloped by light beams from 2 other walls, their power was greatly reduced and could be ignored. First, 4, 7. Hubatian is here. The spirit tiger was kicked down from the city wall by Qing. Before it even landed on the ground, it transformed into its true form and roared as it sped towards the battlefield. There were only 3 more fiend demons on the battlefield. However, the entire situation had changed. Because the demon refinement formation was gone, the advantage of the upper sex and aristocratic families was no longer that significant. The pressure on Yin Qi decreased significantly as she joined forces with the Golden Lion and Cuckoo to charge out of the city once more. Moving slowly, they were getting closer and closer to the city gate. On the main battlefield, Su Zimo held the Creation Green Lotus and joined forces with Night Spirit. They were still fighting against many Dharma characteristic Tao Lords. Monkey had already joined the battle with Imminent. He was the happiest about such a huge battle. The more wounds on his body, the brighter the blood light in his eyes and the higher his fighting spirit. In reality, Su Zimo and the others were fighting and retreating. The cultivators of the North Region Dao Meat could no longer stop them. Many cultivators were already thinking of retreating. The only thing they could rely on was that the North Region Dao Meat definitely had the advantage in terms of numbers. Spirit Tiger, what are you waiting for? Qing chided. Ah, all right. The Spirit Tiger nodded excitedly. Su Zimo's heart stirred. It had been a few years since they last met. Could Monkey and the others have other tricks up their sleeves? The Spirit Tiger took out an incomplete beast hide from his storage bag. There was some fur on it that gave off an ancient aura. Demon Sealing Diagram? Su Zimo recognized the origin of the hide immediately. The Demon Sealing Diagram belonged to Tao Lord Immortal Sword. 10 years ago, When everyone was fighting for the heaven-slaying sword art in Thousand Demon Valley, Su Zimo took the risk and snatched the demon sealing diagram right under Dao Lord Immortal Sword's nose. Later on, he decided to head to 100 Refinement Sect. However, he was still worried and left the demon sealing diagram for Little Fox and the others. Back then, Dao Lord Immortal Sword and the others merely descended with their clones and used the demon sealing diagram to suppress the overlords of Thousand Demon Valley on the spot. The demon sealing diagram had an extremely obvious suppressive effect on demon beasts. However, it had almost no effect on cultivators. Why was the spirit tiger summoning the demon sealing diagram at this moment? The moment that question arose, a spirit tiger's glabella released a spirit consciousness that entered the demon sealing diagram and shouted, "Children, come on out." The moment he said that, figures rushed out of the demon sealing diagram one after another and descended upon the city, exuding a massive demonic chi. Thousands of demons descended. On the city walls and streets, they were everywhere. Fiend demons. They were all fiend demons. There were low and mid-level fiend demons. Among them, there were even more than 10 high-level fiend demons that were equivalent to Dharma characteristic Dao Lords. Roar. Groar. Moo. Screech. Thousands of demons roared and shook the world. Oh my God. Cuckoo could not help but exclaim with her mouth agape. This scene was way too shocking. Even the Dharma characteristic Dao Lords at the North Region Dao meet were shocked and pale, let alone her. Crazy, crazy. Impossible. They've practically moved an army of an entire demon region into Qian Heaven City. Many Dharma characteristic Dao Lords had ugly expressions. In reality, they were right. Right now, the demon beasts in Qian Heaven City were the demon army of the Thousand Demon Valleys Howling Moon Mountain. Su Zimo left the demon sealing diagram behind, but he did not know its true use. Apart from suppressing demon beasts, the demon sealing diagram's greatest use was that it possessed a massive space that could accommodate thousands of demons. Now, with the help of the demon sealing diagram, Monkey and the others had brought an army of 10,000 demons. The situation was reversed instantly. When Dao Lord Bai Ling saw that the situation was bad, he shouted hurriedly, "Desolate Marshal, stop the battle. I'll let you guys leave." Right now, almost half of the Qian Heaven City was occupied by the army of demons. Even if Dao Lord Bai Ling and the others wanted to stop him, they could not. None of the Dharma characteristic Dao Lords of the upper sects and aristocratic families objected. Although they had suffered heavy losses and were unwilling, they could only let Desolate Marshal and the others leave. Otherwise, their losses would be even greater, and they might even die here. To hell with you. Monkey did not care about worldly etiquette and cursed, "I can come and go as I please. Do I need you to allow me to do something? Also, you want a ceasefire just because you said so?" Monkey glared with bloodshot eyes, and his body was stained with fresh blood. He said with a murderous aura, "You guys bullied my brother. I haven't had my fill killing you guys. Desolate Marshal, if we continue fighting, it'll only result in an internecine outcome that will benefit neither of us." Dao Lord Bai Ling glared at Su Zimo and said slowly, he knew that although the demon army was brought here by Monkey and the Spirit Tiger, those people listened to Su Zimo. Chapter 1165, Bow and Defeat. Chapter 1165, Bow and Defeat. "Sure, we can stop." Su Zimo nodded and replied. Although the 10,000 demon army had just been released and had yet to fight to their heart's content, none of the demons stood out to object. Su Zimo had absolute prestige in Howling Moon Mountain. Dao Lord Bai Ling and the others heaved a sigh of relief when they heard that. If Su Zimo persisted, none of them could guarantee that they would be able to leave Qian Heaven City alive. The black-robed fiend demon with a cold expression was way too terrifying. Up till this point of the battle, no one could escape as long as he got close to them. However, Su Zimo changed the topic and swept his gaze across the faces of Dao Lord Bai Ling and the others, saying slowly, There has to be an explanation for this battle. What do you want? Tao Lord Bai Ling asked with a frown. It's not what I want. It's what you should do. Su Zimo replied coldly. I've never violated the rules of the North Region Dao Meet ever since I arrived. The crowd was silent. That was the irrefutable truth. Initially, when cultivators provoked Su Zimo, the latter merely suppressed them without killing them. If Dao Lord Bai Ling and the others had not ordered the paragons of the sect to surround Su Zimo and the others, this battle would not have happened. Dao Lord Bai Ling and the others were largely responsible for why some of the cultivators were dead. I don't have any grudges with most of you cultivators, and I don't want to kill all of you either, Su Zimo said. He swept his gaze across the crowd and could clearly see the panic, confusion, fear, and helplessness on the faces of many cultivators. Many of them were innocent to begin with. After a slight pause, Su Zimo looked at Dao Lord Bai Ling and the others and said indifferently, however, you guys have to give me an explanation. Dao Lord Bai Ling and the others had ugly expressions. Indeed, their judgment was wrong in this battle. They had underestimated the strength of Desolate Marshal and the others. They had not expected Desolate Marshal to have such a powerful trump card that could summon an army of demons. After a long silence, Dao Lord Bai Ling stood out and cupped his fists. Lowering his head, he said softly, Desolate Marshal, I was in the wrong for this matter. The cultivators were shocked. What sort of a figure was Dao Lord Bai Ling? As the leader of the Ouyang aristocratic family who was here to take part in the North Region Dao Meet, he was also one of the hosts of this Dao Meet. But now, he was bowing down to avoid reversion. Even in the entire North Region, Dao Lord Bai Ling was famous, let alone within the Ouyang aristocratic family. But now, he lowered his head towards Dao being Desolate Marshal. When the Dharma characteristic Dao lords of the other upper sects and aristocratic families saw this, they shook their heads and sighed. They stood out and bowed their heads one after another. Su Zimo remained silent with a calm expression and did not leave. The demons behind him were motionless and silent. His figure was a little frail, and he seemed like he could not withstand the wind. However, when he stood in front of the army of demons, he exuded an aura that no one else could match and was intimidating. There was silence in Qian Heaven City. Dao Lord Bai Ling's expression changed repeatedly as he looked at the green-robed man. In the end, a vicious glint flashed through his eyes as though he had made a decision. Suddenly, he retrieved a flying sword from his storage bag. The sword released 5 Dharmic patterns that were cold and sharp. When he took out the flying sword, Dao Lord Bai Ling did not attack Su Zimo. Instead, he turned the sword and spun it in his palm. Poof! A flash of blood appeared. Dao Lord Bai Ling had actually cut off a pinky from his left hand. The crowd fell into an uproar. Dao Lord, why are you doing this? A few cultivators of the Ouyang aristocratic family surged over with shocked expressions. At most, we'll fight to the death with them. Dao Lord Bai Ling had a tragic expression as he shook his head. Forget it. It's my fault for being foolish. Even if I sever a finger, it won't be enough to redeem the lost lives of my clansmen. Once this is over, I'll definitely return to the clan to receive my punishment. Su Zimo's gaze shifted to the Dharma characteristic Dao lords of the other upper sects and aristocratic families. Some Dharma characteristic Dao lords were decisive and imitated Dao Lord Bai Ling to sever a finger. Some of them hesitated for a long time before enduring the pain and severing their fingers. Actually, losing a finger was already the lightest punishment. For Dharma characteristic Dao lords, it would not affect their combat strength at all. Furthermore, if they could cultivate to the conjoint body realm, their severed fingers could be regrown. However, some of the Dharma characteristic Dao lords truly felt guilty, while others cursed internally with resentment. In the crowd, Yulan had a complicated expression when she saw that. She vaguely understood why Su Zimo did not kill them. That was because even if they were killed, there might be other princesses and princes that would stand out. However, if they were to see this, they would never have the thought of restoring their dynasties for the rest of their lives. Not only that, after they returned, They would not let anyone else attempt to restore their dynasties and fight against the green-robed man. Even a conjoint body mighty figure of the North region might not be able to make Dharma-characteristic Tao lords of upper sects and aristocratic families bow down and admit their mistakes with severed fingers. They could not restore their dynasties as long as Desolate Marshal was alive. This was not a joke. Su Zimo's expression was unchanged as he waved his hand. "Let's go." The spirit tiger summoned the demon ceiling diagram once more. The incomplete beast hide floated in midair and exuded a strange demonic aura. Many fiend demons that were initially scattered in the city soared into the air. The demons shrank continuously and turned into a light spot, disappearing into the beast hide. In the blink of an eye, Monkey, the spirit tiger, Night Spirit, the golden lion, Cuckoo, and Yin-Chi were the only ones left behind. Monkey looked at the many cultivators opposite him and spat before turning to leave with a disdainful expression. Su Zimo and the others left as well. After taking a few steps, Su Zimo stopped in his tracks. Frowning slightly, he murmured, "I almost forgot that there's something I haven't settled yet." Many cultivators who were relieved felt tense once again when they heard that statement. Turning around, Su Zimo swept his gaze across the crowd and found his target very quickly. "Windflame, come on out." Tao being Windflame of Glass Palace. "Desolate Marshal, what do you want?" Tao being Windflame had a fearless expression as he said coldly, "I'm a disciple of Glass Palace. It's impossible if you want me to bow down in defeat." Glass Palace was one of the 9 immortal sects and the only immortal sect in the North region. It had its own pride. "So what if it's Glass Palace?" Su Zimo nodded and laughed. Before he could finish laughing, Su Zimo's figure suddenly darted forward. In a flash of lightning, he had already arrived before Tao being Windflame. "Kill." Tao being Windflame's eyes shone brightly, and he was fearless as he released his blood chi. Raising both fists, he smashed towards Su Zimo's head. Swash! A green shadow flashed and Su Zimo's figure vanished. At the same time that he dodged Tao being Windflame's fists, Su Zimo's body went limp and he circled behind Tao being Windflame like a python, locking his arms around the latter's throat. Anaconda Coil. Although his green lotus true body could not unleash the essence of this technique, it was still a killing move of the mystic classic of the 12 demon kings of the great wilderness. ARR, ARR, ARR. Tao being Windflame's blood chi was blocked and his face was purplish green. He could not say anything and a strange sound came from the depths of his throat. Chapter 1166. Challenge Xian Yu. Chapter 1166. Challenge Xian Yu. Tao being Windflame cultivated the Glass Heart Sutra and had a powerful blood chi. In terms of the explosive power of his bloodline, he was definitely superior to the Green Lotus True Body. However, it was a pity that he was bound by Anaconda Coil and his throat was locked. His blood chi was not smooth, and even if he had 500 kilograms of strength, he could not release it. Su Zimo's arms were like cold, hard chains that he could not break free from. Crack, crack, crack. Under the relentless pressure, Tao being Windflame could even hear the sound of bones cracking from his throat. Pissed. If this continued, his throat would be crushed. In a moment of desperation, Tao being Windflame decided to abandon his body and release his essence spirit. Suddenly, Su Zimo's voice sounded. "Don't move." The voice was very soft and was right beside his ears. However, Tao being Windflame truly did not dare to move. He had witnessed Su Zimo's essence spirit secret skill before. Be it the green sword that was filled with a glow or the whip that shone with lightning, they were both terrifying beyond compare. Even the essence spirit of Dharma characteristic Tao lords were killed instantly, so he did not dare to act rashly. "I'm just teaching you a lesson. I won't kill you," Su Zimo said slowly. "Also, help me send a message back to Glass Palace." Right then, Tao being Windflame felt his throat relax. Su Zimo's arm had already retreated. Tao being Windflame's body went limp as he knelt on the ground, panting heavily. His throat was already shattered, and every single breath he took seemed like he was pulling on a bellows, letting out strange hissing sounds. "What is it?" Dao being Wind Flame asked through gritted teeth. April 5th. I want to challenge Dao being Xianyu here. Su Zimo raised his palm and threw down a map. There was a clear symbol on the map. Ha 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 ha. Dao being Wind Flame burst into laughter without even looking. The laughter caused a sharp pain in his throat, but he was oblivious to it and even burst into tears from his laughter. You want to challenge senior brother Xianyu? Dao being Wind Flame asked once more, as though he wanted to confirm this matter. That's right. Su Zimo nodded. Then, there's something I have to tell you. Senior brother Xianyu is no longer a void reversion, but a Dharma characteristic Dao Lord. Dao being Wind Flame burst into laughter. Glass Palace doesn't have Dao being Xianyu. There's only Dao Lord Xianyu. Desolate Marshal, you're courting death. Dharma characteristic realm? Su Zimo murmured softly but was not surprised. He shook his head. Dharma characteristic Dao Lords are nothing to me. I've killed plenty of them here in Qin Heaven City. Fu, what can these Dao Lords amount to? Dao being Wind Flame sneered. A Dharma characteristic Dao Lord that died here isn't even fit to carry senior brother Xianyu's shoes. I might as well tell you that senior brother Xianyu has already reached the perfected Dharma characteristic realm and is the second in the Dharma characteristic realm in Glass Palace. He has a chance to leave his name on the Dharma characteristic ranking. You're courting death by challenging senior brother Xianyu. Su Zimo frowned. This was indeed somewhat out of his expectations. He did not expect Xianyu's cultivation speed to be so fast. In merely 100 years, he had crossed a major cultivation realm. This battle would be even more troublesome than he had initially imagined. Even among those of the same cultivation realm, the difference in combat strength was immense. For example, in Qin Heaven City, some Dharma characteristic Dao Lords had their essence spirits turned into ashes after a single whip from the spirit vanquishing whip. However, some Dharma characteristic Dao Lords could defend against the spirit vanquishing whip with essence spirit secret skills. There were only 72 spots on the Heaven and Earth Dharma characteristic ranking. Every single one of them was a top Dao Lord of Tianhuang mainland. There was an entire major cultivation realm difference between them. If he were to fight against a Dao Lord on the Dharma characteristic ranking, even if he were to use all his trump cards, the outcome would be unpredictable. Desolate Marshal, you've already decided that you want to fight. Are you regretting your words now? Afraid that Su Zimo would regret it, Dao being Wind Flame said hurriedly, if you want to establish your Dao and impart martial arts to the masses, you'll only become a laughing stock if you go back on your word. Since I've decided to fight, I won't go back on my words. Go back and relay my message as is. Su Zimo said indifferently and left with a flick of his sleeves. With that, Su Zimo, Monkey, and the others leaped onto the spirit vessel and left Qin Heaven City, disappearing into the horizon. Someone lamented, I'm afraid only Desolate Marshal would have the guts and boldness to challenge Dao Lord Xianyu openly. What's the use of that? Do you really think he can defeat Glass Palace's Dharma characteristic Dao Lord? Another cultivator pouted. How did Desolate Marshal and Dao Lord Xianyu form a feud? You don't even know about that? More than 100 years ago, Desolate Marshal was still at the Golden Core realm and Xianyu was a void reversion. In the Great Qin ruins, he crippled Desolate Marshal's Golden Core and forced him into Dragon Burial Valley, almost killing him. I heard that it's because of Dao Lord Xianyu that Desolate Marshal's kin in the mortal realm died. All of you are wrong. When she heard the discussions around her, Yulan shook her head. The reason why Desolate Marshal challenged Dao Lord Xianyu was to seek justice for the people of Yin Country. More than 100 years ago, 13 cities of Yin Country were almost razed to the ground by the cultivators of Glass Palace. Countless people died in exile, and Yin Country was destroyed as a result. How did you determine that? A cultivator asked. Yulan pointed to the map in front of Dao Lord Wind Flame and said, the location of the battle between the two of them is the old capital of Yin Country. The old capital of Yin Country. April 5th, during the Qingming Festival, Is he going to use Dao Lord Xian Yu's life to commemorate the deceased? The cultivators gradually understood. Young master, are you a little rash? On the spirit vessel, Nian Qi said softly with a worried expression, actually, it's not too late to challenge Dao Lord Xian Yu after you reach the Dharma characteristic realm. Su Zimo shook his head. If I were to reach the Dharma characteristic realm, Xian Yu would definitely not dare to accept the challenge. Everyone was stunned, but quickly understood. Su Zimo would not have any choice if Dao Lord Xian Yu chose not to turn up. Glass Palace was one of the 9 immortal sects, and Su Zimo was only a void reversion. If he barged into Glass Palace, he might die before he even gets to meet Dao Lord Xian Yu. However, this battle is way too dangerous for you, young master. Nian Qi analyzed, Dao Lord Xian Yu will definitely do his best in this battle because he represents Glass Palace and they can't afford to lose. If Dao Lord Xian Yu was killed by Su Zimo despite the difference of a major cultivation realm, Glass Palace's reputation would definitely plummet. Kuka nodded as well. First has already revealed his trump cards for this battle. The other party will definitely be prepared. It's fine. Su Zimo had a calm expression. This battle is inevitable. This battle was not only for himself, but also for his elder brother, Su Hong, the citizens of Yin Country and Little Fox. Little Fox's treasure was snatched away by Dao Lord Xian Yu, and Su Zimo had always kept that in mind. Right, where's Little Fox? At the thought of Little Fox, Su Zimo asked curiously. She did not appear with Monkey and the others to join the battle. Initially, he thought that Monkey and the others were worried that the Little Fox would be injured. However, they had already left Qian Heaven City. Why was she still not around? At the mention of Little Fox, Monkey, the Spirit Tiger, and Ching Ching exchanged glances with odd expressions. Chapter 1167. Kill. Chapter 1167. Kill. What's wrong? Did something happen to Little Fox? The Golden Lion could not help but ask when he saw the odd expressions on the 3 of them. Su Zimo was in no hurry. He could tell that Monkey and the other 2 were rather relaxed and did not seem like Little Fox was in any danger. True enough. Monkey waved it off. Nothing happened to Little Fox, but... He paused for a moment and said hesitantly, we were initially at Howling Moon Mountain. However, some time back, a woman appeared out of nowhere and took Little Fox away. Ah! The Golden Lion exclaimed, you call that nothing happened? Don't be alarmed. Kuka patted the Golden Lion on the head. Didn't you hear what Brother Monkey said? Little Fox was taken away, not snatched away. Monkey nodded with a reminiscing expression. After that woman appeared, she wanted to take Little Fox away. Naturally, we wouldn't let her. However, she was way too strong. She did not even make a move, and the pressure she exuded was enough to immobilize us. The Golden Lion, Nian Qi, and the others were stunned. To be able to render Monkey and the others immobile with the pressure of her spirit consciousness. What realm and power was that? Conjoint body realm? Or even higher? However, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat as a figure flashed through his mind. He had a vague guess. Monkey continued, however, that woman seems to know Little Fox and doesn't have any enmity towards her. They chatted for a night in private before Little Fox left with her. Little Fox is inexperienced and naive. Could she have been tricked? The Golden Lion grumbled. Su Zimo asked, what kind of woman was she? As beautiful as a fairy? At the side, the Spirit Tiger could not help but exclaim, heavens, I've never seen such a beautiful chick before. If it was before, Ching Ching would have gone berserk and kicked the Spirit Tiger away when she heard him praise other women. However, this time round, even Ching Ching nodded. Indeed, she's extremely beautiful and difficult to describe with words. Even I feel tempted when I see her. When he heard their remarks, Su Zimo no longer had any doubts. Powerful strength and extreme beauty. There was probably no other woman like her in the world. That woman should be Consort Yu, who had awoken in the lava of the underground palace. Su Zimo said, everyone, don't worry. This senior is an old friend of Little Fox's mother and will definitely not hurt her. First, You know her? The spirit tiger asked curiously. Yes, we've met once. Su Zimo replied ambiguously. The meeting between the two of them was a little awkward, and Su Zimo did not want to reveal more. He changed the topic and asked, "What else did Little Fox say before she left?" "Nothing much. She merely asked us not to worry." Ching Ching smiled. "She said that she might return to look for everyone before long." Su Zimo smiled at the thought of Little Fox blinking her big eyes and looking reluctant. "Why aren't you guys at Howling Moon Mountain? Why are you here?" Su Zimo asked again. When they heard that, the spirit tiger and Ching Ching blushed and remained silent. Monkey complained, "Don't talk about that. 7th and 5th are not around while you and Little Fox left. As such, there's only the three of us around." "What's wrong with that?" Su Zimo did not understand. Monkey rolled his eyes at the spirit tiger and Ching Ching before saying faintly, "The two of them are stuck together all day, acting as though there's no one else around. They're shameless and noisy. I'm almost going to throw up from watching them." "Ha ha ha ha." Everyone roared in laughter. "If you don't run out now, I'm going to be disgusted to death," Monkey said exaggeratedly. Su Zimo could not help but laugh as well, shaking his head. Monkey, really? It was rare for them siblings to reunite. It was as though they had returned to the days when they were laughing and cursing. Everyone had smiles on their faces. Even Night Spirit, who was usually cold and silent, joined in with the crowd. Cuckoo could not help but feel happy for them, as she sensed the sincere and pure sibling feelings between them. Initially, Nianqi was worried about the arranged battle between Su Zimo and Dao Lord Xianyu. However, at that moment, she did not want to mention this matter anymore and break the joy, happiness, and warmth she felt. She was also immersed in it. What was more important than a family reunion? In less than 10 days, the news of the North Region Dao meet spread throughout the cultivation world. Desolate Marshal had returned and suppressed paragons of the same cultivation realm, even killing many Dharma-characteristic Dao Lords. In the end, the arrival of the 10,000 demon army forced many Dharma-characteristic Dao Lords to bow their heads and admit their mistakes. The North region was shaken, and the cultivation world of Tianhuang mainland was in an uproar. 10 years ago, Desolate Marshal was severely injured by a half-martial ancestor, and his body was crippled. How could he still possess such strength? I'm not sure. I heard that Desolate Marshal's body and bloodline are indeed much weaker than before. However, his Dharmic powers are vast, and his essence spirit secret skills are terrifying. He can kill Dao Lords. He's way too terrifying. That lad's luck is way too strong. To think he can still recover after being severely injured by a half-martial ancestor. Everyone was shocked. This person has a feud with many sects, and those factions are definitely not willing to see him rise. I reckon that there will definitely be people who can't sit still. This lad has a Mahayana patriarch backing him. Which sect or faction would dare to kill him? You don't understand. If you really want to go all out and kill a void reversion, there are many methods. Half a month after the North Region Dao meet. Dragon Tiger Sect. In a secret cave abode at the back mountain of the sect, the light was dim. The sect master of Dragon Tiger Sect stood inside and bowed slightly with a respectful expression. A grand elder of the Dragon Tiger Sect was in seclusion in the cave abode. This grand elder was a conjoint body realm expert. In the depths of the cave abode where light and darkness intersected, a blurry figure was vaguely reflected. "Just wait," Elderly said slowly. "If that lad loses to Xinyu and dies, everything will be fine. If that lad wins..." After a brief pause, Elderly opened his eyes with a flash of killing intent. "I'll head out and kill that lad." "But the Mahayana patriarch behind that lad," the sect master of Dragon Tiger Sect remarked softly with a fearful expression. "There's no need to worry," Elderly said. "Before that, I'll declare that I've already betrayed the sect and have nothing to do with the Dragon Tiger Sect. This matter will not implicate the sect." The sect master of Dragon Tiger Sect heaved a sigh of relief. "Desolate Marshal is way too sharp. I'm not the only one who wants to kill him." Elderly said coldly, "In order to ensure that nothing goes wrong, I'll try my best to join forces with other powers to suppress him and not give him any chance to escape." This was equivalent to exchanging lives. If Desolate Marshal was killed, the Mahayana Patriarch behind him would definitely attack and kill Elderly. Should we wait a little longer? The sect master of Dragon Tiger's sect suggested. I heard that the Mahayana Patriarch behind this lad doesn't have much time left and is already at the end of his lifespan. As long as he dies, you won't have to bear the infamy of betraying the sect and the danger of being hunted down by the Mahayana Patriarch. We can't wait any longer. Elderly sighed. This lad already has such combat strength at the Void Reversion Realm. Once he enters the Dharmic characteristic realm, we won't be able to hurt him even without the protection of the Mahayana Patriarch. At that time, his influence would already be established and he'll reign over the North region. All the upper sects, aristocratic families and gentry clans will have to bow down and submit to him. The sect master of Dragon Tiger's sect opened his mouth slightly with a shocked expression. Reigns supreme over the North region with the world at his feet. Chapter 1168. Audacious Demon Monkey. Chapter 1168. Audacious Demon Monkey. It was already mid-March by the time the North Region Dao Meet ended. It was only about 20 days away from April 5th. On this day, a group of cultivators arrived above the old capital of Yen country. The leader wore green robes and had black hair that flowed down like a waterfall. His eyes were clear. It was Su Zimo. Monkey, the spirit tiger, Ching Ching, night spirit, the golden lion, Ku Ku, and Yin Chi stood behind him. Su Zimo looked at his homeland with a conflicted expression. Because the capital was trampled by the cultivators of Glass Palace in the past, it had long been reduced to ruins and no longer flourished. After more than 100 years, this place was still deserted. There were some dilapidated walls and courtyards that might still have some traces of the past. Su Zimo said nothing and watched in silence. Tears welled up and his vision gradually blurred. Too many things had happened in this capital and homeland. He was born here. That night, the Su family met with a calamity. Su Hong's face was slashed and his head was almost split into two. Su Hong brought him, and Xiaoning out of the capital. They were forced to leave their hometown and had to hide their identities. Many years later, he killed his way back single-handedly and beheaded the king of Yin in this capital. Later on, the capital was destroyed and countless living beings were buried here. His old friends, Lu Yu, Yu Qihua, Song Qi, the black armored cavalry were all buried under this ruin. The first time he had the intention to establish his Dao heart was here. In a daze, Su Zimo seemed to see an old man in his twilight years standing on the ruins with tears streaming down his face. "Brother," Su Zimo called softly. The old man vanished silently. Su Zimo quickly realized that it was merely a figure in the depths of his memories. Everything was no longer there. Nian Qi and the others did not understand why Su Zimo's eyes were filled with tears. They could not understand his feelings and longing for this land either. "I am fine." After a long time, Su Zimo said, "I'll stay here for the next few days and prepare to fight Xinyu. Don't worry." He had already cultivated to the peak of the late-stage Void Reversion Realm before the North Region Dao Meet. After a huge battle and returning to his homeland, he could already sense the opportunity to break through. The next realm was the perfected Void Reversion Realm. "Let's go. Don't disturb him." Monkey waved his hand and pointed into the distance. "I'll let you guys take a look at the place where I first met first. Hee. I was once the king of that forest." "Sure." Ching Ching clapped her hands in agreement. "Just nice. Brother Monkey can tell us about your glorious past." "No problem." Monkey seemed to have recalled something as he grinned. "By the way, Night Spirit was also brought out from that forest when he was still an egg." After Monkey's antics, everyone felt much more relaxed. "You guys go ahead. I'll stay here to accompany the young master." Nian Qi said, "If you want to break through, you'll have to have someone guarding you." Although she wanted to take a look and listen to Monkey talk about the young master's past, Nothing was more important to her than Su Zimo's safety. Let's go then. The spirit tiger beckoned. Sister Nianqi, let us know if anything happens. Don't worry, First is about to fight Tao Lord Xinyu. Before that, no one should come looking for trouble with First. Qing analyzed. After bidding farewell, Monkey led everyone towards Conglang Mountain Range. Su Zimo descended slowly and arrived at the only intact hall in the palace. He murmured, "Let's do it here." "All right, young master, go cultivate. I'll guard outside." Nianqi stood outside the door with a focused expression like a little door guardian. Monkey led everyone towards Conglang Mountain Range. If it was any ordinary person, they would take at least a month or two to reach Conglang Mountain Range from the old capital of Yan Country. However, Monkey and the others were all at the Void Reversion Realm. As they sped along, they arrived above Conglang Mountain Range in less than 2 hours. Is this the place? Looking at the extended mountain range beneath their feet, the spirit tiger and the others looked around curiously. Initially, this mountain range was boundlessly vast. However, it was far inferior compared to the Thousand Demon Valley of the Middle Continent. Conglang Mountain Range could not even compare to a corner of Howling Moon Mountain, let alone Thousand Demon Valley. Monkey and the others looked extremely relaxed as they gazed at the mountain range beneath their feet. Thousand Demon Valley was like a vast ocean. However, Conglang Mountain Range was merely a shallow beach. Monkey and the others were fiend demons that had fought their way out of the ocean. Now that they looked back at the shallow beach, they naturally did not take it seriously. Given their cultivation, they could cover more than half of Conglang Mountain Range with their spirit consciousnesses. Right there, Monkey led everyone through the air above the mountain range and pointed to a valley not far away, grinning. "This is where I first met First." At that time, First was in a terrible state and was almost devoured by a pack of wolves. Thankfully, I appeared in time, hee. At the mention of that, Monkey was still proud. The spirit tiger pouted in disapproval. However, he did not dare to refute or mock Monkey, afraid that he would anger the latter into beating him up. Halt! Right then, a figure soared into the air and stopped Monkey and the others in their tracks. The person was clad in purple armor and exuded a demonic aura. His gaze was sharp as he glared at Monkey and the others with an unfriendly expression. Monkey and the others could clearly see that the intruder was also a demon, and his true form was a purple-winged eagle. The purple-winged eagle asked in a deep voice, "Which mountain are you from? Why did you barge into Conglang Mountain Range without permission?" "My!" The spirit tiger whistled and teased, "Brother Monkey, these cubs of Conglang Mountain Range sure are impressive." Monkey grinned as well. He looked at the purple-winged eagle not far away and nodded. Not bad, not bad. When I left, there were no fiend demons in Conglang Mountain Range. To think that there would be a fiend demon now, even though it's a low-level one. Low-level fiend demons were equivalent to nascent souls. Of course, low-level fiend demons were nothing in the eyes of Monkey and the others. The spirit tiger was one of the territorial lords of Howling Moon Mountain and had countless fiend demons under his command. He was used to calling them cubs and children. When he saw a low-level fiend demon, he naturally blurted out the word cub. Unexpectedly, the purple-winged eagle's expression darkened as it glared at the spirit tiger and the others with hostility. "Does that mean that you guys want to offend my Conglang Mountain Range?" Monkey waved it off and said proudly, "Offended my ass. I'm the king of the mountains here." Audacious demon monkey. The purple-winged eagle's expression changed as it hollered, "There's a territorial lord in Conglang Mountain Range. How dare you spout nonsense here?" After holding it in for a long time, Qing could not help but burst into laughter. "Ha ha ha ha, I'm dying of laughter." The spirit tiger could not stop laughing as well. The golden lion and the others snickered at the side, watching Monkey make a fool of himself. Along the way, Monkey boasted about how impressive he was back in Conglang Mountain Range. To think that he would be berated by a low-level fiend demon the moment he arrived. Furthermore, he was scolded as a demon monkey. Monkey was equally depressed. Even at Howling Moon Mountain, no one dared to scold him as a demon monkey. To think that he would be snubbed the moment he arrived at Songlang Mountain Range. Chapter 1169, Paradise. Chapter 1169, Paradise. The most amusing thing was that the purple-winged eagle before them was merely a low-level fiend demon. However, this low-level fiend demon did not show any fear when he saw the group of mid-level fiend demons, and even dared to stand out and berate them. Was this purple-winged eagle just naive, or did it have something to rely on? With a sweep of his spirit consciousness, Monkey enveloped most of Songlang Mountain Range and could not help but exclaim softly. He could sense the auras of 5 low-level fiend demons after a brief check. When he left, there was not a single low-level fiend demon in the mountain range. It had only been 100 years and so many demons had grown into fiend demons? All right, I'll cut to the chase. Who is your territorial lord? Get him to meet me. Monkey waved his hand and could not be bothered with this low-level fiend demon. Humph. The purple-winged eagle harumphed coldly. Our territorial lord is not someone you can meet just because you want to. You better leave quickly, or else. Cut the crap. Monkey looked impatient and rolled his eyes. He strode forward and reached out with his palm. Dharmic powers coiled around it as he grabbed towards the purple-winged eagle. The purple-winged eagle's expression changed. There was no time to think. It channeled its blood chi and wanted to transform into its true form to escape from Monkey's attack range. Unexpectedly, Monkey released a massive spirit consciousness that descended and suppressed it. Under the envelopment of the spirit consciousness, the purple-winged eagle's blood chi was almost stagnant and could not be activated. It could not even conjure its true form. How strong! The purple-winged eagle's heart sank. This was not only a suppression of cultivation realm, it was a suppression of bloodline. The difference in their bloodlines caused his bloodline to be unable to put up any resistance, just like a mouse meeting a cat. Monkey's furry palm covered the skies. A huge shadow loomed over. In a flash, Monkey grabbed the back of the purple-winged eagle's neck and lifted it effortlessly. Although the purple-winged eagle was a low-level fiend demon, it was like a weak and pitiful chick being carried by Monkey. The purple-winged eagle was completely stunned. After it was grabbed by Monkey, its body stiffened and its Dharmic powers were restricted. It could not exert any strength at all. It was subdued with a single move. Demon Monkey, let go of me. The purple-winged eagle hollered with a flushed face. Your ramblings are too noisy. Monkey shook the purple-winged eagle in his hands continuously. The purple-winged eagle felt as though its bones were about to fall apart. However, it still said weakly, if the territorial lord finds out that you guys barged into Songlang Mountain Range and even dared to attack me, why you ha? It was dizzy from the monkey's shaking and could not catch its breath, hence it could not continue to speak. Since I have nothing to do, who is your territorial lord? I'll go meet him. Monkey had already made up his mind to teach this territorial lord a lesson in front of the spirit tiger and the others to regain his dignity. Territorial lord of Songlang Mountain Range, hurry and come out. The spirit tiger's voice spread to every corner of the mountain range. There was no reply from the mountain range. The overlord of Howling Moon Mountain has arrived. Why isn't a puny territorial lord coming forth to greet him? The spirit tiger shouted again and even revealed his identity, raising his status further. There was still no one from Songlang Mountain Range. What territorial lord? He's so scared that he doesn't even dare to show his face. The golden lion grinned. Nonsense. At this moment, the purple-winged eagle caught its breath and gritted its teeth. Our territorial lord is not in Songlang Mountain Range at all. The spirit tiger asked, where did he run off to? Just nearby. The purple-winged eagle said in a deep voice, if you guys want to suffer, I'll bring you guys over. Wow, he's sure a big deal, eh? I'll see for myself what sort of an amazing figure your territorial lord is. Monkey sneered and asked, how do we go? The purple-winged eagle raised its arm and pointed in a direction. There's a town more than 50 kilometers away. The Territorial Lord cultivates there all year round. Town? The spirit tiger pursed his lips. What kind of weirdo is that? As a demon, he's not staying in Songlang mountain range. Instead, he's cultivating in a town. Without another word, Monkey sped in that direction with the purple-winged eagle. Before long, they were getting closer to the town mentioned by the purple-winged eagle. On both sides of the road, apart from some common vegetation, there were also peach trees. Right now, it was the beginning of spring and sprouts were appearing on the branches. They were dotted with green spots and were full of life. In the distance, a town could be vaguely seen. Monkey frowned slightly and asked softly, "The Territorial Lord of Songlang Mountain Range is in this town?" "That's right," the purple-winged eagle replied. "This should be Pingyang Town," Monkey grumbled. "What about Pingyang Town?" Confused, the spirit tiger and the others asked instinctively. Monkey explained, First was originally from Pingyang Town. Before he started cultivating, he was a scholar here. The spirit tiger and the others were enlightened. Before long, everyone arrived at Pingyang Town. After 100 years, Pingyang Town was much larger than before. Pingyang Town did not seem to be affected at all in this chaotic period where wars were everywhere. It was like a paradise. The town was bustling with people and carriages. At a glance, it was even livelier than most cities. The mortals in this town seemed to be doing well. Ching Ching blinked and said in surprise. The purple-winged eagle said proudly, "That's only natural. With our Territorial Lord protecting the citizens, no one can harm them." Over the years, the Territorial Lord has stood out to chase away many intruders that wanted to offend Pingyang Town, similar to you guys. Monkey and the others exchanged glances and marveled. As a demon and the Territorial Lord of Songlang Mountain Range, it was indeed strange that he would come here to protect the mortals of Pingyang Town. Because of that, Monkey and the others were less hostile towards this Territorial Lord. Shaking its head, the spirit tiger was surprised as well. Indeed, it's strange. Even mortals with strong bodies can only live for less than 100 years. Look, there are so many old men in this town who are more than 100 years old. There's no sign of them ever cultivating. All of them are mortals. Indeed, everyone swept their spirit consciousnesses and saw many old men with long lifespans. Longevity Town? It was already good enough to survive in this chaotic period of time, let alone enjoy longevity. However, the mortals in Pingyang Town lived a blissful life with rosy cheeks and healthy bodies. When the purple-winged eagle saw the shock on Monkey and the others' faces, its expression turned even more disdainful as it said proudly, "How can you rude fiend demons understand the methods of the Territorial Lord?" "What do you mean?" The Golden Lion asked, "Are the lives of these mortals related to your Territorial Lord?" "Of course." The purple-winged eagle said with certainty, "The Territorial Lord's powers are boundless. It's not something you fiend demons can understand." Upon hearing what the purple-winged eagle said, everyone was even more curious about this Territorial Lord. "Is he in the town now? Why don't I see him?" Monkey frowned. He released his spirit consciousness and searched for a long time but could not find any demonic chi in Pingyang Town. "Haha, the Territorial Lord is right here. However, it's impossible for you guys to discover his tracks." When the purple-winged eagle saw Monkey at a loss, it mocked loudly. The spirit tiger, Ching Ching and the others shook their heads as well, finding nothing. "This Territorial Lord can hide from our spirit consciousness detection." Monkey murmured, "Indeed, he has some tricks up his sleeve." Chapter 1170, Appearance of the Territorial Lord. Chapter 1170, Appearance of the Territorial Lord. "I advise you to give up," the purple-winged eagle said. "You can't find the Territorial Lord at all." "Shut up." Monkey felt a headache coming on because of the purple-winged eagle's constant nagging. Now that he was outmatched by this unknown Territorial Lord, he was enraged and shook the purple-winged eagle's body forcefully. The purple-winged eagle was stunned again. Monkey looked at Night Spirit. Fifth, you can't find anything either? Although Monkey, the Spirit Tiger, and Ching Ching were ranked ahead of Night Spirit in terms of seniority, they knew that Night Spirit definitely surpassed them in terms of combat strength. Without saying anything, Night Spirit's gaze shifted to an empty courtyard in Pingyang Town. There was no one in the courtyard, and the decorations were simple. Apart from the stone table and stool, there was only a peach blossom tree. What do you mean? The Spirit Tiger looked around and asked, that Territorial Lord is hiding in this courtyard? As he said that, he released his spirit consciousness to check. However, there was still nothing after a moment. There's nothing. The Spirit Tiger blinked. Night Spirit, that won't do. You're inferior to him as well. Night Spirit smiled and shook his head, pointing to the inconspicuous peach blossom tree in the courtyard. The peach blossom tree? It became a spirit? Monkey frowned slightly. There were too many peach blossom trees around Pingyang Town. Even if anyone caught sight of them, they wouldn't pay any attention. However, through Night Spirit's reminder, everyone focused their attention on the peach blossom tree and gradually discovered something unusual. Suddenly, the peach blossom tree vanished in front of everyone. Right after, a figure appeared before everyone. Monkey and the others were initially wary. However, everyone was stunned when they saw who it was. The person was wearing a white shirt and looked to be around 8 or 9 years old. He was a young lad with a tender face and bright black eyes. Where did this child come from? The Spirit Tiger asked instinctively without understanding what was going on. Monkey rolled his eyes. Are you blind? Can't you see that the peach blossom tree in the courtyard is gone? I know, but... The Spirit Tiger scratched his head and looked at the boy not far away, asking in disbelief, this child is the Territorial Lord of Songlang Mountain Range? In their imaginations, if one could become a Territorial Lord, even if they did not have 3 heads and 6 arms and were fiendish, they would have to be like Monkey and Spirit Tiger, imposing and intimidating. To everyone's surprise, a pink and tender child appeared out of nowhere like a porcelain doll. It was far from what they had expected. Monkey scratched his head as well, feeling troubled. It would be easier if a fiendish person were to appear. All he had to do was release thunderous means to suppress the latter. However, he truly did not know what he was supposed to do against such a tender child. He was afraid that he would kill the boy with a single punch. Furthermore, the boy looked so pure and innocent that he could not bring himself to do it. When Ching Ching and Cuckoo caught sight of the child, their eyes lit up and shone with motherly love. They could not wait to hug the child and cherish him. Who are you guys? The child asked sternly with a serious expression. Are you guys here to harm others as well? Although he was questioning, the boy's voice was soft and pleasant to the ears. Territorial Lord, save me. The purple-winged eagle shouted hurriedly. The child pouted and seemed to be a little angry as he berated Monkey. Demon, hurry and let Uncle Purple Bird go. Uncle Purple Bird will feel terrible if you carry him like this. Black lines streaked across the purple-winged eagle's face as it grit its teeth. Territorial Lord, how many times have I told you? Please don't call me Uncle Purple Bird in front of outsiders. Ha 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 ha. The Spirit Tiger and Golden Lion burst into laughter. Monkey grinned as well, finding it interesting, but he did not loosen his grip. Child, what's your name? Ching Ching came before the boy and squatted down, asking with a gentle expression. I. The boy turned his head slightly and blinked his large eyes, seemingly troubled. He thought hard for a long time and said dejectedly, I don't have a name. Why don't you have a name? Ching Ching asked again, where are your parents? I don't have parents either. The boy shook his head. The purple-winged eagle was almost in tears. He was carried by Monkey the entire way and initially thought that the Territorial Lord would be able to save him. To think that the Territorial Lord had forgotten about him. He was even chatting with the fiend demons opposite him. You don't have any relatives even? Ching Ching was filled with pity. I do. Unexpectedly, the boy nodded hurriedly when he heard that. I have kin. The young master is my kin. Pausing for a moment, a look of disappointment flashed through the boy's eyes as he lowered his head. However, the young master has left and hasn't returned for a long time. I miss him so much. The boy's eyes were a little moist and sparkled. Ching hugged the boy hurriedly and consoled him softly. Don't cry, don't cry. It's all that young master's fault. He's the worst after not returning to see you for so long. All of a sudden, Ching felt a tremendous force burst forth from her embrace, and the boy broke free from her hug. The boy took 2 steps back and glared at her furiously. You're not allowed to say that. The boy's brows were almost raised. He was clearly enraged. He clenched his small fists tightly as an extremely terrifying aura emanated from his body. He hollered furiously, "You're a bad person for saying that about young master. All of you." However, Ching was not annoyed. She merely lamented internally, "This child is innocent and naive." His method of judging whether someone is good or bad is truly simple. It seemed like that young master held an extremely important position in the child's heart. While Ching was deep in thought, the spirit tiger sensed the aura of the boy and was startled, pulling her back hurriedly. They were confused by the boy's appearance and almost forgot that he was a territorial lord. Although he was also at the void reversion realm, he could hide from their senses. Nobody could become a territorial lord without being exceptional. The boy's gaze shifted and he frowned slightly. Uncle Purple Bird, how come you were captured by them? Heavens, it's all thanks to that young master. The purple-winged eagle sighed into the skies with a bitter expression. Territorial Lord, you've finally remembered me. You guys are truly bad people. When the boy saw that, he was even more convinced. This time round, he no longer hesitated and walked towards Monkey and the others with a stern expression. The aura within his body rose continuously. Hee. Rubbing his palms together, the spirit tiger said, Brother Monkey, leave this child to me. Let me teach him a lesson. Be gentle. Ching said fiercely, if you dare hurt him, I'll break your legs. The spirit tiger said bitterly, all right, I'll hold back a little. Child, here I come. The spirit tiger shouted and lunged towards the boy. Bang! He lunged forward at an extremely fast speed and was sent back even faster. Everyone was dumbfounded. The boy raised his hand slightly and punched the spirit tiger on the head in a flash. Before the spirit tiger could react, it was sent flying back and landed on the ground. It rolled a few times and its right cheek was swollen. Chapter 1171, Powerful Peach Blossom Tree. Chapter 1171, Powerful Peach Blossom Tree. This, Brother Tiger, you were careless, right? It should be. Otherwise, why would he be hit by a child? Shaking his head, the spirit tiger stood up and panted heavily, gradually regaining his senses. Little child, you've angered me. He glared at the boy not far away and said fiercely. The physical blow was secondary. The main thing was that he was punched right in the face by the child in front of Monkey and the others. That was way too embarrassing. Swash! The spirit tiger's figure flashed and his blood chi burst forth. Thunderbolts coiled around his body and he exuded a domineering aura unique to the tiger race. Roar! The spirit tiger roared at the boy. A strong wind howled. You're so noisy. The boy frowned, somewhat angry. Initially, he wanted to teach the spirit tiger a lesson. However, he did not expect the latter to get up and even shout at him. That made him extremely displeased. Swash! The spirit tiger felt his vision blur, and the boy had already vanished on the spot. So fast, the spirit tiger's heart sank, and he did not have time to think. Waving his hand, he released thunderous might and struck forward. Bang! Before the spirit tiger's fist touched the boy's clothes, his face was severely injured once more. After a moment of dizziness, the spirit tiger realized that he was sent flying by another punch from the boy. When he got up from the ground, both his cheeks were swollen and his head was truly as swollen as a tiger's. This time round, Monkey and the others did not laugh. They had fought countless battles and had sharp eyes. Naturally, they could tell that although the boy looked innocent and cute, his combat strength was extremely terrifying. Within the same realm, there were not many demons that could defeat the spirit tiger. Even though the spirit tiger did not take on his true form and was not at his peak condition, the boy was still in human form as well. Interesting. Monkey smacked his lips with a hint of fighting spirit in his eyes. He loved fighting the most in his life. Back then, when he first met Suzimo, they stayed in that cave for half a year and fought almost every day. Now that he saw how strong the boy was, Monkey's hands were itching as well. "Little child, I'll play with you." Monkey grinned and stamped his foot on the ground, scurrying over. A malevolent aura surged as he reached out with his furry palm and grabbed at the boy. As though he could tell that Monkey was not weak, the boy straightened his face and focused. Bang, bang, bang. The boy clashed against Monkey 3 times consecutively without being disadvantaged. Monkey was initially holding back, worried that he would injure the boy. However, the two of them clashed repeatedly and Monkey's strength continued to increase. In the end, even after pushing it to his limits, he could not force the boy back. Furthermore, Monkey could vaguely sense that the child still had strength left. Monkey was fearless and delighted at the sight of his prey. He no longer held back and released all his strength to fight the boy. Whose child is this? He's already so amazing at such a young age? Ching was puzzled. Among the 7 of them, Monkey was ranked 3rd in terms of combat strength and could even fight against Dharmic characteristic Tao Lords. How was this child so powerful? 5th, what are you able to tell? Ching glanced sideways and asked. Night Spirit pondered for a moment before saying, Peach Blossom Wood is extremely powerful to begin with. In the Primordial Era, it was known as the Dragon-Subduing Wood and the Ghost Terror Wood. Many races refer to it as the Immortal Wood. One could imagine how strong it was to be able to subdue dragons, ward off evil, and exorcise ghosts. So amazing. Ching was secretly speechless. Cuckoo was puzzled and could not help but say, however, there are very few peach blossom trees that are sentient in the demon realm. Even if they are sentient, they are rarely able to cultivate to this realm, let alone possess such strong combat strength. That will depend on how the peach blossom tree became sentient, Night Spirit said. What do you mean by that? Ching and the others did not understand. Night Spirit explained, to put it simply, if the peach blossom tree is sentient after a long period of evolution and nurtured by the heaven and earth spirit chi, the power it can control will be limited. Or perhaps it was a coincidence that it gained sentience and entered the path of cultivation. That's normal as well. After pausing for a moment, Night Spirit continued, however, it's a different story if it gained sentience because its intellect was unlocked upon guidance by an expert. Expert? Ching and the others asked instinctively. Night Spirit said, for example, if an immortal were to guide this peach blossom tree and allow it to gain sentience, that would mean that the Tao legacy of this peach blossom tree comes from this immortal. Once it enters cultivation, its potential will be unimaginable. Ching and the others understood. There were many similar legends in Tianhuang mainland. It was said that immortals of the upper realm often cultivated on a green stone. Over time, the green stone gained sentience and intellect. Even the green stone became extremely powerful and invincible once it started cultivating. In that case, the person who guided this peach blossom tree to gain sentience has an extraordinary background. Ching speculated, could it be a grand or old demon? A grand demon was equivalent to a conjoint body mighty figure. Old demons were equivalent to Mahayana patriarchs. Just as everyone was discussing, a figure fell with a bang. In midair, the figure released his blood chi once more and barely controlled his body before landing on the ground and staggering 3 steps back. The one who was beaten back was Monkey. This time round, Ching and the others were truly shocked. Even Monkey could not defeat this little boy. Night Spirit frowned slightly and murmured with a deep gaze. The person who guided this peach blossom tree is probably much more terrifying than a Mahayana patriarch. Brother Monkey, don't worry. I'll help you. At the side, the spirit tiger rubbed his swollen face and was about to pounce forward furiously. Get back here. Ching Ching chided. You two men, aren't you ashamed to join forces against a child? The spirit tiger blushed. He did not want to either, but he felt aggrieved. If news of him being beaten up by a child spread, he would not be able to survive in Howling Moon Mountain anymore. You bunch of bad guys, come at me together. I'm not afraid. Right then, the boy's childish voice sounded. Bloody hell. At that moment, the spirit tiger could not take it anymore. Ignoring Ching Ching's obstruction, he charged forward and scolded, You little brat, let's see how your grandpa tiger will deal with you. Count me in. The golden lion could not help but join in the fun. Monkey, the spirit tiger, and golden lion lunged forward. Trap? The boy conjured hand seals with both hands and shouted softly. Suddenly, branches grew out of nowhere beneath the feet of Monkey and the other two and weaved into a cage, trapping them within. The three of them released their attacks one after another, but they could not charge out at all. Although the peach blossom tree branch looked as thick as an infant's arm, it was unusually tough and invulnerable. Roar! The spirit tiger and the golden lion reverted to their true forms. However, the golden lion was still unable to cut through the peach blossom tree branch with his claws, relying on the 4 incomparably sharp tiger claws that he had fused with in the past. The spirit tiger managed to sever a few peach blossom tree branches. However, the tree branches were endless and filled the gaps rapidly. Monkey's condition was not much better. He summoned Imminent and broke a few branches. However, Imminent was entangled by the newly grown branches layer by layer and was completely entangled within. It was only then that the boy revealed a smug expression and waved his fist. Bad guys, do you know how strong I am now? Chapter 1172. Walloped for Nothing. Chapter 1172. Walloped for Nothing. Ching Ching and Cuckoo exchanged glances, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Apart from his frightening combat strength, the boy looked like a naive and adorable child. In the cage made of peach blossom wood, the golden lion had already given up and laid down obediently. He finally understood that his strength was unnecessary. After the spirit tiger reverted to its true form, it roared in the cage and charged left and right, unable to get out despite being exhausted. The spirit tiger gave up as well. Little child, you win, the spirit tiger said weakly. Monkey was motionless. He would never admit defeat. There was no such thing as admitting defeat in his bloodline. However, Monkey felt conflicted. Was he going to trigger the berserk power in his bloodline just because of this child? Once he went berserk, he would become extremely dangerous. Apart from his closest kin such as the spirit tiger and the others, he would recognize no one else. Irrational, the only thing on his mind would be to kill without any sense of propriety. Monkey was worried that he would injure the child in his berserk state. He could also tell that this child was kind-hearted and did not have the savage and vicious aura of other fiend demons. Instead, he had a scholarly aura. It was a familiar feeling. However, Monkey could not recall it at that moment. Yet, if he did not use the berserk power of his bloodline, he would truly be subdued by this child. After he obtained Imminent, even if he was severely injured, he had never lost his weapon. But now, even Imminent was entangled by the intertwining branches and was completely out of his control. This was unprecedented. He could not admit defeat. Monkey's eyes gradually turned bloodshot. When she saw that, Ching Ching frowned slightly with a worried expression. She was well aware of Monkey's bloodshot eyes and his berserk state. He was a terrifying existence that could not be controlled. Notwithstanding the increase in his speed and strength, Monkey would not even feel pain, and his combat strength would increase exponentially. Just as Ching Ching was worried, the boy tilted his head and exclaimed softly, as though he had sensed something as well. That's a little dangerous, eh? The boy blinked and murmured. Although he had never fought Monkey in his berserk state before, he was extremely sharp and could already sense the danger. The boy pondered for a moment before changing his hand seal and channeling Dharmic powers into the cage. Suddenly, pink flower buds grew from the tree branches of the cage. Before long, all the flower buds bloomed under the watchful gazes of Ching and the others. The peach blossoms were tender and beautiful, emitting a faint fragrance that refreshed the heart. Monkey felt his consciousness blur from the fragrance as his eyelids grew heavy and he felt drowsy. The blood light in his eyes gradually faded as well. After persisting for a moment, Monkey could not hold on and fell with a thud in the cage, snoring loudly. Ching was dumbfounded. That was possible? The boy was so smart that he did not fight Monkey head-on. Instead, he changed his tactics and prevented Monkey from releasing the berserk power. Of course, the fragrance of the peach blossom was also extraordinary since it could knock out Monkey. In that short period of time, Monkey, the spirit tiger, and the golden lion were suppressed by a mere child. Ching pondered. Even if she and Cuckoo went up, nothing would change. They reigned supreme in Howling Moon Mountain and were invincible. Furthermore, they caused a huge ruckus at the North Region Dharmic. To think that they would lose to a child in front of this insignificant Pingyang town. If this child was already so strong, who knew what sort of a character the young master he mentioned was? Of course, they were not completely defeated either. At the very least, Night Spirit had not attacked yet. The moment that thought flashed through her mind, Ching suddenly realized that Night Spirit had disappeared unknowingly. She seemed to have thought of something as she raised her head and looked towards the boy. A figure appeared behind the boy silently like a ghost, staring at him expressionlessly. All of a sudden, Night Spirit attacked. The boy seemed to have sensed something and darted forward. Shing! The clothes on the boy's arm were still torn by Night Spirit's fingertip, revealing an arm that resembled a lotus root. His skin was tender and fair with a faint trace of blood on it. Night Spirit exclaimed softly with a bright gaze. Even most Dharma-characteristic Tao Lords could not dodge his attack. To think that the boy's senses would be so sharp. Of course, he still managed to injure the boy, although the wound was extremely shallow. The boy looked at the wound on his arm and felt aggrieved. His eyes were moist. He turned around and glared at Night Spirit angrily, raising a pair of small fists. "Bad guy, you've hurt me." The child was innocent and did not even know how to curse. Even though he was hurt by Night Spirit and was extremely aggrieved and furious, he could only address the latter as bad guy. In his heart, there were only 3 types of people in the world: good people, bad people, and his young master. Night Spirit smiled at the boy's rebuke and was not bothered. All of a sudden, he retracted its smile. His gaze landed on the boy's injured arm. In that short period of time, the wound on the boy's arm had disappeared without a single scar left behind. What strong regeneration capabilities! Night Spirit's heart skipped a beat. That regeneration capability was even comparable to his. Just as Night Spirit's mind was in a state of chaos, the boy charged forward and took a step forward. Leaning forward, he extended his arms from his abdomen and clenched his fists. His index finger protruded slightly as he thrust forward in a gentle motion. Moo! At the same time, a stream of air spewed out from the boy's mouth and nose, forming a strange, dull sound. Instantly, the boy's figure seemed to vanish and was replaced by a terrifying bull demon with horns that pierced the skies. Night Spirit saw that this move seemed familiar and was filled with killing intent. He recognized its potency and did not take it head-on as he vanished in a flash. Without hesitation, the boy changed his stance and spun around. Protecting his chest with his left hand, he clenched his right fist and his flesh expanded, forming a gigantic seal that smashed towards his back. Bang! The 2 fists collided. Night Spirit's figure appeared. The boy's eyes lit up, and he changed his stance once more. Opening his fist, it suddenly turned soft and landed on Night Spirit's palm with a coil and a tremble. Swoosh! The boy's palm landed in the void with a crisp sound. He missed. Stop fighting. Right then, Monkey's voice sounded. The boy could not divert his attention to control the cage while battling Night Spirit. The Spirit Tiger and the Golden Lion woke up quickly. Monkey woke up as well. The moment he woke up, he saw the boy turn around and execute a move that he was most familiar with, Sanguine Ape Fist Seal. A thought flashed through Monkey's mind as he shouted hurriedly. The boy refused to stop and glared at Night Spirit angrily, shouting in a huff, "Bad guy, don't run." However, Night Spirit did not move. He recognized the origin of the moves that the child had used earlier on as well. Monkey looked at the child and asked in a deep voice, "Little child, is your young master's surname Sue?" How did you know?" The boy was stunned and asked curiously with widened eyes. Ching and the others gradually understood as well. The Spirit Tiger had a glum expression as he rubbed his swollen cheek and grumbled, "Bloody hell. We've been fighting among ourselves the entire time. I got walloped for nothing." Chapter 1173, Life Imprint. Chapter 1173, Life Imprint. When Ching found out that the boy was related to Suzimo, she was even happier. The more she looked at the boy, the more she liked him. "You deserve it." She saw the aggrieved look on the Spirit Tiger's face and could not help but laugh. "Who asked you to bully a child?" "Sister, have you ever seen such a ferocious child?" The Spirit Tiger rolled its eyes with a dark expression. Not only did the boy suppress the three of them, he was not disadvantaged even in a fight against Night Spirit. The Golden Lion exclaimed, "First is truly amazing. When did he nurture such a monster incarnate?" The boy was confused and could not help but ask, "You guys know my young master?" "More than that." Monkey grinned. "We're very close to your young master and are sworn siblings. Your young master is our big brother." "Is that so?" The boy tilted his head and blinked his eyes. His pitch-black eyes darted around in a skeptical manner. Ching asked curiously, "First didn't mention us to you?" When he heard that, a look of disappointment crossed the boy's face. Lowering his head slightly, he said in a soft voice, "No, the young master only spoke to me twice." "How is that possible?" The Spirit Tiger shook his head. "If First didn't talk much to you, how did you learn all these killing moves?" As he said that, the Spirit Tiger gestured twice. "Those moves?" The boy shook his head. "Young master didn't teach them to me." "He didn't." Ching, the Spirit Tiger and the others exchanged glances. They could tell that the other party was confused. In their impression, Suzimo was the only one who knew those killing moves. If it was not taught by Suzimo, where did the boy learn it from? "First didn't teach you how to cultivate?" Ching asked again. The boy shook his head. "I've only seen the scene when young master broke through to the Golden Core realm. After I gained sentience, those moves and some Dharmic formulations for cultivation were already in my mind." "That's strange. If not for First, who else would know those moves?" The Spirit Tiger murmured. Monkey's heart skipped a beat as a figure in blood-colored robes appeared in his mind. "Her?" he murmured softly. Only Monkey knew that apart from Suzimo, there was another person who knew those moves. In a night more than 100 years ago, this mysterious woman imparted to him a Dharmic formulation of the ape race before disappearing. Night Spirit once said that the stronger the origin of the peach blossom tree's sentience, the greater the potential of the boy. If that was the case, the mysterious woman was probably the one who helped the peach blossom tree gain sentience. No wonder this boy was frighteningly strong. So, he had inherited the legacy of that mysterious woman. Ching came to the boy's side and squatted down, asking with a smile, "How long has it been since you've seen your young master?" "More than 100 years. The boy counted with his fingers. "What did your young master tell you before he left?" Ching asked again. The boy replied in a serious manner, "He told me to protect the citizens of this place." "So, you've been guarding this place for more than 100 years?" A gentle look flashed through Ching's eyes. The boy nodded vigorously. "I've never left all these years. The citizens of Pingyang Town have been living well too." Yes, we saw that. Ching nodded. For some reason, everyone felt a sense of softness in their hearts when they saw the boy like that. Even the spirit tiger's resentment towards the boy vanished instantly. For the sake of a single sentence, this child shouldered the heavy responsibility of protecting his people and did not take a single step away. Just how many dangers and difficulties did he experience during this period of time? Previously, the North region experienced the calamity of the witch goo, but there were no signs of it happening here. It must be because of the protection of this boy. This child did not even know when the end would be. In fact, he didn't even know when he could see his young master again. All he remembered was that sentence left to him before his young master left. With that, he remained here for more than 100 years. The boy seemed to have let down his guard against Ching and the others as he continued. Right? I'll also bear many peaches every year to distribute to the grannies and grandpas of the town. After consuming the peaches, they get to live for a long time. Everyone was enlightened. It was no wonder why they saw so many old people in Pingyang town. It was because of the protection of this child. Seems like the legend about the peach blossom tree is true. Night Spirit said, legend has it that some immortal peaches can extend one's lifespan by hundreds or even thousands of years after eating them. Of course, the boy was far from that level. The fruits he bore could only help the mortals extend their lifespans by dozens of years. There have been many bad guys like us over the years, right? Ching asked with a smile. The boy nodded. Immediately after, he shook his head and blinked his clear eyes. He met Ching's gaze and said, "You guys are not bad. Those bad guys are truly bad. Those bad guys wanted to snatch things because they were strong. They killed and bullied people everywhere. However, they were all beaten away by me." You beat them away? Everyone was surprised, and the spirit tiger could not help but ask, "You didn't kill them?" In their minds, they believed that they had to be ruthless to their enemies and kill them all. There was no such thing as beating their enemies away. No. The boy shook his head. I don't know how to kill, and I don't want to kill either. Every life is precious, and I don't want to hurt them. To Monkey and the others, those words sounded extremely ridiculous. If they had that belief, they would not be able to survive in the cruel demon and cultivation world. However, Monkey and the others did not mock, ridicule, or scoff at him. This child's heart was pure and kind. The world in his eyes was also beautiful and gentle. In his heart, every life was precious and worthy of respect. Monkey and the others did not want to and could not bear to break the beautiful world in the child's heart. This child was definitely an anomaly in Tianhuang mainland. He was so powerful, but he had never killed anyone before. Perhaps those with such beliefs would not be able to survive in this cruel world. However, they would protect this child. Su Zimo would protect this child. If possible, they did not want the child's hands to be stained with blood. Monkey and the others did not know that it was not a coincidence that the boy possessed such conviction. The origin of this peach blossom tree sentience was Daiyu. However, in reality, apart from himself, there was another life imprint in the peach blossom tree, Zhui Feng, who died in perfected being Songlang's hands. That was Su Zimo's favorite mount in the past. Back then, Su Zimo buried Zhui Feng's ashes under the peach blossom tree with immense sorrow. Daiyu witnessed everything. That was the reason why Zhui Feng's remnant soul was fused into the peach blossom tree, granting it an immortal opportunity to gain sentience and impart Tao under the tree. Although the current boy was transformed from a peach blossom tree, he actually had the imprint of Zhui Feng within his consciousness. Against the power of a golden core, Zhui Feng was defenseless and deeply felt the helplessness and pain. That was the reason why the boy did not wish to harm any life in his consciousness. The imprint left behind by Zhui Feng was also the reason why this boy, the manifestation of the peach blossom tree's sentience, relied and trusted Su Zimo so much. Chapter 1174, Center of Attention. Chapter 1174, Center of Attention. After the North Region Dao meet ended, the cultivation world of the North Region did not calm down at all. Desolate Marshal challenged Dao Being Xinyu to a duel in the old capital of Yin Country on the 5th of April. Xinyu accepted the challenge. Before the battle even began, it was already the center of attention with a huge commotion. Firstly, both parties involved in the fight were extremely special. One of them was Dao Being Desolate Marshal, known as the #1 monster incarnate in history. The other was a Glass Palace cultivator, Dao Lord Xinyu. Both of them were famous. More importantly, this was a battle that had a major cultivation realm gap. This battle would definitely be a life and death battle as well, since neither side could afford to lose. For a period of time, the North region was in turmoil and countless sects and factions were paying attention to the battle, setting things into motion from behind the scenes. At the beginning of April, cultivators lingered around the old capital of Yin Country. All the cultivators wanted to witness this unprecedented battle personally. I heard that the feud between Desolate Marshal and Xinyu was established more than 100 years ago. That's right. This place was originally flourishing and prosperous. It was because of Xinyu's orders that this capital was reduced to ruins. Some cultivators stood on the ruins of the old capital and discussed the matter. Who do you guys think will win this battle? It'll definitely be Dao Lord Xinyu. A cultivator analyzed. If it was an ordinary Dharmic characteristic Dao Lord, Desolate Marshal would definitely have a high chance of winning. However, I heard that Dao Lord Xinyu is extremely strong and is ranked second among the Dharma characteristic Dao Lords of Glass Palace, second only to Dao Lord Glass. Dao Lord Glass was the titular disciple of Glass Palace. The reason why he was conferred the title of Dao Lord Glass was also because Su Zimo killed this generation's titular disciple of Glass Palace back in the Dao Inheritance Ground. More than 100 years ago, Xinyu was only a void reversion. Now that he's already at the Dharma characteristic realm, he's not someone easy to deal with. I believe that Dao Lord Xinyu will win as well. Not necessarily. Another cultivator shook his head. I heard that many Dharma characteristic Dao Lords died in the hands of Desolate Marshal at the North Region Dao Meet. Over the past few days, the topic of discussion was the outcome of the battle. Look, the Glass Palace cultivators have appeared again. A cultivator pointed to the skies not far away and said, for the past few days, Glass Palace cultivators would descend to the vicinity of the old capital of Yin Country almost every day to check things out. They're worried that Desolate Marshal might set up a trap in the ruins. A cultivator shook his head and pursed his lips. Glass Palace is being too petty. Since Desolate Marshal set up the challenge openly, why would he do something like that? As time passed, more and more cultivators gathered. Even the sect masters of the various upper sects and aristocratic families were here personally to watch the battle. The commotion was shocking and spectacular. The Empress of Great Zhou, Ji Yaoxue, led an army over personally. The old immortal crane of Ethereal Peak led her disciples to spectate as well. At the same time, outside the old capital of Yin Country, a woman arrived. She had black hair like a waterfall and wore snow-white clothes. She was extremely beautiful with icy skin and jade bones. Her eyes were bright and charming and could be said to be devastatingly beautiful. The white-robed woman looked at the ruins in silence. Suddenly, a furry head popped out of the woman's embrace with a pair of tiny paws. Rubbing her drowsy eyes, she asked in a daze, "Are we here?" "Yes," the white-robed woman replied. The little beast seemed to be invigorated as it popped its head out and looked in the direction of the old capital of Yin Country. It was a fiery red little fox. "Goddess True Jade, wasn't I right? Young Master hasn't forgotten about me. He's doing this to take revenge for me," the little fox said smugly. "There's nothing praiseworthy about dragging it on for more than 100 years, the white-robed woman replied with a hint of disdain. Little Fox frowned slightly and argued, "This is already amazing of Young Master. He's a major cultivation realm away from Dao Lord Xinyu." "Goddess True Jade, you seem to have some prejudice against Young Master." The white-robed woman recalled the scene in the depths of the cave and felt flustered. Her cheeks flushed as she grit her teeth and did not continue. "No matter what, Goddess True Jade, I've won this bet." Little Fox replied happily, Young master has never forgotten about me and will definitely protect me. Don't worry. The white-robed woman had a calm expression. We'll talk about it after he wins this battle. A Dharma characteristic Tao Lord of Glass Palace isn't going to be so easy to deal with. If he loses, it'll mean that I was right. That person doesn't have the ability to protect you, and you'll have to follow me from now on. In the palace of the old capital of Yin Country. It was a day away from the 5th of April. Su Zimo was still cultivating in a dilapidated palace. He had been isolated from the outside world for the past few days, and his cultivation realm had not changed. However, he was in no hurry. The more anxious one was, the more likely they would fall into a quagmire of cultivation and be unable to extricate themselves. Nian Qi stood at the entrance, guarding it day and night. Monkey and the others had arrived a few days ago as well. Among them, there was a child wearing a white jacket. His eyes were black, and he was extremely intelligent. Monkey and the others knew that Su Zimo was at a critical juncture of his cultivation breakthrough and did not barge in recklessly, waiting outside. The night before the final battle. Suddenly, 2 beams of light shone within the pitch-black palace. Those were Su Zimo's eyes. His aura rose continuously. Endless Dharmic powers surged into his body, forming vortexes that connected heaven and earth. After a long time, the trend gradually slowed down and stopped. He had broken through, perfected void reversion realm. Su Zimo could clearly sense that his essence spirit had truly turned whole and full at that moment. There were no flaws at all on his body. Suddenly, an epiphany struck him. He seemed to have understood something and closed his eyes in deep thought. He only reopened his eyes once again at daybreak. When he tried to comprehend about the epiphany of the previous night, a smile finally appeared on his face. Sensing that Su Zimo was fine, Monkey and the others no longer waited and entered the palace. You guys are back? Su Zimo swept his gaze across Monkey and the others and smiled. All of a sudden, his gaze paused and landed on a boy among Monkey and the others. The boy looked at him as well. Although the boy was trying his best to control himself, Su Zimo could see the excitement and joy in his eyes. The boy looked unfamiliar. Su Zimo could guarantee that he had never seen the boy before. However, for some reason, he felt a sense of familiarity from the boy. He looked at the boy's pitch-black and intelligent eyes and shuddered, as though he had suddenly thought of something. He finally knew where the sense of familiarity from the boy came from. That pair of eyes and that gaze were almost identical to Zhu Feng, who had accompanied him through his growth. At the same time, Su Zimo caught sight of the boy's true form. Instantly, he understood many things. Chapter 1175, Blood Tribute. Chapter 1175, Blood Tribute. Greetings, young master. The boy mimicked the scholars of the mortal world and walked forward respectfully, cupping his fists at Su Zimo. After the peach blossom tree gained sentience, the only person it came into contact with was Su Zimo. His actions and words would also imitate Su Zimo subconsciously, making him look like an obedient and cute little scholar. You've already cultivated to that realm? Su Zimo was slightly surprised. Ching Ching and the others exchanged glances and smiled as they recounted everything that happened after they met the boy. Su Zimo was touched when he heard the boy share his peaches with the elders of Pingyang Town to extend their lifespans. Why did you do that? Su Zimo already had a guess, but he still looked at the boy and asked gently. The boy said, Your kin departed more than 100 years ago. I saw that you were devastated and thought of helping the mortals in the town live longer once I was successful in my cultivation. That day, when Su Zimo was under the tree and watched Su Hong pass away, he was in great pain. The peach blossom tree witnessed everything. However, his cultivation was still shallow back then, and he could not do anything. He could only shake his tree branches and grow some peach blossoms to comfort Su Zimo. Come over. Su Zimo beckoned to the boy with a gentle gaze. Not only did the boy have Zhu Feng's life imprint, there were also some traces of Daiyu. He had witnessed the scene where Daiyu imparted her Dao. Although it was Su Zimo's first time seeing the boy, He had an indescribable feeling towards the latter and was fond of him. First, this child doesn't have a name yet. Give him one. Ching Ching said. Monkey grinned. What name do you want? You should learn from me and just call yourself Peach. That's too perfunctory. The spirit tiger shook his head. If you ask me, I think we should call him Tao Patian. It'll be as domineering as Maihu Batian. That's terrible. Ching Ching and the others frowned in disdain. Even the boy pouted. Pondering for a moment, Su Zimo said, There are clouds in ancient poems, and the peach blossoms shine brilliantly. Peaches are abundant with fruits and flesh. Peaches grow luxuriously with lush leaves. Why don't we call you Tao Yao? All right. The boy smiled. Right then, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. As though he sensed something, he stood up slowly and looked into the distance. His gaze seemed to be able to pierce through the endless void and land on a person. He's finally here. Su Zimo rose slowly and passed through the dilapidated hall. Arriving in midair, he stood on the wind. A cultivator was flying over from the eastern horizon. That person wore a golden Taoist robe and had his hands behind his back. He had a grim expression, and every single step he took in the void seemed to be calculated accurately without any mistakes. Tao Lord Xinyu. Even after more than 100 years, Su Zimo recognized this person at a glance. At that moment, the sun had just risen. Behind Tao Lord Xinyu, the morning sun shone with a golden glow that illuminated the world and enveloped his figure. It was as though Tao Lord Xinyu was treading on light with the morning sun on his back. Under the illumination of the light, his face shone with a glass-like luster that was impossible to look at. A powerful aura surged over. When they saw that, the cultivators around the old capital were shocked. Even though they were watching from below, they could sense the unparalleled might of Tao Lord Xinyu, as though he was one with the world. By cultivating to the Dharmic characteristic realm, one would be able to condense a heaven and earth Dharma characteristic. By borrowing the power of the heaven and earth, one's comprehension of the heaven and earth was almost at its peak. It was even more so for Tao Lord Xinyu. Even the surrounding cultivators felt a sense of pressure. It was hard to imagine how Su Zimo would feel facing him head-on, as expected of the second strongest Dharma characteristic of Glass Palace. To think that he could gather such might. The sect master of Stellar Luna sect lamented. As sect masters, they were Dharma characteristic Tao Lords who had been famous for a long time. It had only been 100 years since Tao Lord Xinyu entered the Dharma characteristic realm. However, he had already surpassed many of the sect masters. As one of the immortal sects, Glass Palace naturally had its strengths. Blaze Columbus Valley's Valley Master said, There shouldn't be any suspense in this battle after seeing Tao Lord Xinyu's capabilities. Desolate Marshal's trump cards have been completely exposed at the North Region Tao meet. Tao Lord Xinyu represents Glass Palace in this battle, and he won't tolerate failure. He must have made thorough preparations. The sect master of Heavenly Piercing Sword Sect said. The moment Tao Lord Xinyu appeared, even some cultivators who were initially confident in Su Zimo were shaken. His power was on a completely different level. Even some Dharma characteristic Tao Lords present could not resist Tao Lord Xinyu's aura, let alone void reversions. However, unexpectedly, even when Tao Lord Xinyu was 100 feet away from Su Zimo, the latter was still indifferent and did not retreat at all. It was as though Su Zimo could not feel any pressure under such circumstances. How was that possible? Desolate Marshal, we meet again? Tao Lord Xinyu smiled gently. To be honest, I truly did not expect you to survive and grow to this point. Surprisingly, the meeting between the two of them was not as tense as everyone imagined it to be. Tao Lord Xinyu looked at Su Zimo with a relaxed expression without any killing intent. He continued, I'm here to give you another choice. If you choose to join Glass Palace, the grudges between you and us can be written off. After joining Glass Palace, the other sects will no longer dare to cause trouble for you either. The moment he said that, the crowd stirred. Tao Lord Xinyu is here to express his goodwill on behalf of Glass Palace. Glass Palace seems to be very sincere. Entering Glass Palace is a win-win situation. Many cultivators discussed softly. As one of the 9 immortal sects, Glass Palace was a sacred cultivation ground that many cultivators yearned to join. Who wouldn't want to join? Only the sect masters of some upper sects and aristocratic families sneered internally when they heard that and thought to themselves that it was vicious. How many Glass Palace cultivators had been killed by Su Zimo in the past 100 years? Even the titular disciple of Glass Palace was killed in the Dao inheritance ground. How could they let bygones be bygones? The reason why Dao Lord Xin Yu said that was not to gain Su Zimo's trust. However, as long as Su Zimo's heart wavered, he would have lost this battle. At the very least, many cultivators in the crowd were tempted. These sect masters had lived for thousands of years, and they were extremely experienced. What sort of tricks had they not seen before? In fact, they were certain that as long as Su Zimo's mind fluctuated slightly, Dao Lord Xin Yu would definitely seize the opportunity to strike. Xin Yu, you don't have to put in so much effort. Su Zimo's expression was mocking as he said coldly, I challenged you here today to kill you. Even if you want to commit suicide, I won't allow it. He was not even allowed to commit suicide. Su Zimo wanted to kill him personally. The smile on Dao Lord Xin Yu's face gradually disappeared. His expression was frighteningly dark and filled with killing intent, revealing a menacing expression. Su Zimo walked towards Dao Lord Xin Yu with a burning gaze and said slowly, I'm going to use your blood as a tribute to this land. I'll use it as a tribute to my older brother and the citizens of Yin country. It will be used as a tribute to appease the innocent souls of the 13 cities of Yin country 100 years ago. Each time he mentioned the word tribute, Su Zimo's aura would increase by a fraction. When the final word was stated, Su Zimo's aura was at his peak and he attacked brazenly. Chapter 1176, Battle of Dharmic Arts. Chapter 1176, Battle of Dharmic Arts. Su Zimo chanted Sanskrit and the damning mantra exploded. At the same time, Su Zimo changed his hand seals repeatedly and almost instantly, he conjured 3 offensive damning Dharmic seals. The Fiend Suppression Seal, Demon Subduing Seal, and Immortal Trap Seal descended at the same time. Instantly, the world changed and shook. At the end of the firmaments, Buddhist light shone through the clouds and illuminated the world. 3 gigantic golden palms that seemed corporeal crushed down towards Dao Lord Xin Yu with the boundless might of heaven and earth. Without any probing, Su Zimo attacked with all his might. He had waited too long for this battle. More than 100 years ago, he was almost helpless against Dao Lord Xin Yu. But now, he was already standing opposite Dao Lord Xin Yu. Is that the legendary lost secret skill of Daming Monastery? The combined power of the 3 Dharmic seals has already exceeded the limits of some Dharma characteristic Dao Lords. Desolate Marshal is only at the Void Reversion realm. To think that his Dharmic powers would be so terrifying that they can summon the might of heaven and earth to create such a massive commotion. The 3 Dharmic seals descended and shone with a blinding golden light, causing the air to turn dry. Dao Lord Xin Yu did not move at all as he looked at the golden palms that were crushing down. A look of disdain flashed through his eyes as he hollered softly, Scarlet Rainbow Sacred Slash. A Dharmic art formed in Dao Lord Xin Yu's palm. Following that, a scarlet light burst forth from his palm and shot out in all directions. It was as though a blazing sun was crushed by Dao Lord Xin Yu. Poof, poof, poof. The scarlet beams collided with the golden palms, and after a brief stalemate, the golden palms were corroded and penetrated. In the blink of an eye, the 3 gigantic, sacred golden palms were riddled with holes and dimmed. How dare you use such petty tricks to embarrass yourself? Dao Lord Xin Yu sneered. In reality, all the cultivators present knew that there was a major cultivation realm difference between them. The fact that Desolate Marshal could fight Dao Lord Xin Yu head-on without being disadvantaged proved the power of that Dharmic art. The sect master of Dragon Tiger sect said indifferently, It's a pity that he has yet to master the Daming Dharmic seal. I heard that the final 2 Dharmic seals of the Daming Dharmic seal are the most powerful. However, they were lost tens of thousands of years ago. It's only normal that this lad doesn't know. The Valley Master of Blaze Columbus Valley said. The two Dharmic arts had yet to dissipate, and the Dharmic powers in the void still possessed immense destructive power. However, Tao Lord Xian Yu had a fearless expression. Relying on his powerful body, his figure flashed and he turned into a streak of light, speeding towards Su Zimo through the layers of Dharmic powers. Here he comes. He's trying to kill Dao, being Desolate Martial in melee combat. The cultivators were shocked. Glass Palace was one of the strongest body-tempering supersects among the Immortal, Buddhist, and Fiend sections. Legend has it that when the sect's secret skill, Glass Heart Sutra, was cultivated to its limits, one's body was comparable to Dharmic treasures and was indestructible, able to fight against pure-blooded ferocious beasts. Glass Palace was the strongest in physique and bloodline. Everyone knew that Desolate Martial's body was crippled by a half-martial ancestor 10 years ago. Although his reconstructed body displayed immense strength at the North Region Dao meet, he was most likely still slightly weaker than Tao Lord Xian Yu. Su Zimo was also aware of this. Back then, he was best at melee combat. Therefore, he knew one thing best. If Tao Lord Xian Yu closed in, his situation would become extremely dangerous and passive. Swish! Su Zimo's body flashed with lightning as a pair of gigantic wings grew on his back. He burst forth with speed and retreated rapidly, trying his best to distance himself. At the same time, he conjured another Dharmic art. Bang! Boom! Boom! As his Dharmic art was formed, the skies were filled with dark clouds in the blink of an eye. It was frighteningly dark with flashes of lightning. Purple thunderstorm. He pointed forward. One after another, purple lightning descended onto the ground, tearing the void apart. Purple lightning coiled and formed a storm that connected the heavens and the earth that swept towards Tao Lord Xian Yu. That was the power of a top-tier Dharmic art. It could cause the world to tremble and summon the wind and rain. Su Zimo's attacks had yet to stop. The seal in his hands changed once more, and a gigantic thunderbolt formed in the middle of the dark clouds. A bedazzling sea of lightning appeared above Tao Lord Xian Yu's head, and the endless power of thunder condensed into a single point that descended. The fury of thunder. Purple thunderstorm. Fury of thunder. All the top Dharmic arts of the Great Void Spirit Refinement section descended and almost drowned Tao Lord Xian Yu. The crowd was shocked. If they had not witnessed it personally, they would not have imagined that such a Dharmic art was released by a void reversion. Tao Lord Xian Yu chanted with a grim expression. Let the body be like glass, transparent inside out and cleansed of impurities, turning indestructible. Suddenly, his body was shrouded by a mysterious glow. From head to toe, he was flawless and indestructible like glass. Even in the sea of thunder, it was not shaken. Streaks of blazing lightning struck his glass true body and dissipated instantly. Su Zimo's expression was cold, and he was not surprised at all. He had never intended to severely injure Tao Lord Xian Yu with the purple thunderstorm and fury of thunder. His true killing move was hidden within the massive thunderbolt. Nobody noticed that there were dozens of inconspicuous green lotus seeds that resembled eternal sand floating in the resplendent sea of lightning. The lotus seeds shone brightly. However, it was covered by the blinding lightning. The creation green lotus seeds. Right after the arrival of the purple thunderstorm and fury of thunder, Su Zimo's eyes shone with a cold glint as he channeled his spirit consciousness and said softly, "Slash." The 54 green lotus seeds gathered rapidly and formed an exquisite and tiny green lotus sword in the sea of lightning. The green lotus sword emitted a terrifying aura that far surpassed the two thunder Dharmic arts. It was a killing sword that targeted the essence spirit. A single slash could sever the essence spirit. Even Tao Lord Xian Yu's glass true body could not defend against it. The green lotus sword descended almost at the same time as the fury of thunder and slashed towards Tao Lord Xian Yu's head. Tao Lord Xian Yu, who was in the midst of the lightning, conjured his glass true body to defend against the lightning. All of a sudden, he felt a strong sense of danger. It was as though he was about to face a calamity the next moment. How could that be? Tao Lord Xian Yu was puzzled. Although the power of those two Dharmic arts was strong, he could definitely defend against them with his glass true body. Why did he feel such trepidation? At his cultivation realm, he had an extremely keen sense of danger. It felt like a whim, and he was definitely not imagining things. Without any time to think, Dao Lord Xianyu made a prompt decision. With a thought, a black Dharmic weapon suddenly flew out from his consciousness and hovered above his head. Clang! At the same time, the sound of metal clashing could be heard. The green lotus sword struck the black Dharmic weapon heavily and released a terrifying spirit consciousness that suppressed the surrounding thunderbolts instantly. Fire blocking basket. In the crowd, in the embrace of a white-robed woman, the little fox exclaimed with widened eyes. Chapter 1177. Forced into melee combat. Chapter 1177. Forced into melee combat. The black Dharmic weapon resembled an inverted metal bowl with mysterious patterns etched on it, revealing 9 holes. Su Zimo focused his gaze. That black Dharmic weapon was none other than the fire-blocking basket that Dao Lord Xianyu snatched away from Little Fox more than 100 years ago. To think that the fire-blocking basket could defend against the attack of the green lotus sword. At that moment, the two Dharmic weapons collided and the green lotus sword dispersed, transforming into 54 green lotus seeds that returned to Su Zimo's consciousness. It was only at this moment that the crowd reacted and burst into a commotion. Desolate Marshal is way too ruthless. He released a killing move that targets the essence spirit right away. How dangerous. If Dao Lord Xianyu was slightly slower, he might have been killed by a single slash. Dao Lord Xianyu felt a sense of trepidation when he heard the discussions around him. His life was hanging by a thread just now. Dao Lord Xianyu could not help but smile as he held the fire-blocking basket in his palm. Desolate Marshal, it's all thanks to this treasure that I was able to cultivate to this stage in more than 100 years. Su Zimo's heart stirred. Initially, he thought that the reason why Dao Lord Xianyu could cultivate to the Dharma characteristic realm in such a short period of time was because of some fortuitous encounter. So, it was because of the fire-blocking basket. Unsurprisingly, that treasure should belong to Consort Yu. As such, it was not surprising for it to possess such power. I remember that this treasure was snatched from a fox, right? Dao Lord Xianyu could not conceal the smugness in his eyes and was still reminiscing as he laughed. To think that this fire-blocking basket is actually a rare utmost treasure. Ha ha ha. In the crowd, Little Fox gripped her paws tightly and glared at Dao Lord Xianyu angrily, wishing that she could kill this person with her gaze. Goddess True Jade, look at his face. How infuriating. Little Fox rolled her eyes. Goddess True Jade, he's the one who bullied me. Why don't you help me retrieve the fire-blocking basket? The white-robed woman seemed to have read Little Fox's mind as she said with a fake smile, "You want me to help this young Master Su, right?" "No." Feeling a little guilty, Little Fox whispered, "I just wanted to retrieve the fire-blocking basket as soon as possible. Didn't you make a bet with me that young Master Su would help you get it back? In that case, I'd better not interfere and wait here to see the outcome," the white-robed woman said indifferently. Little Fox pouted and did not say anything more. What an opportune moment to let you have a taste of this fire-blocking basket's power today. On the battlefield, Dao Lord Xianyu charged towards Su Zimo once more and threw the fire-blocking basket in his hands towards the latter. Go! Dao Lord Xianyu hollered and Dharmic powers burst forth from his fingertip, entering the fire-blocking basket. Swoosh! The fire-blocking basket expanded against the wind and spun, arriving above Su Zimo's head almost instantly. Su Zimo's expression froze. The fire-blocking basket belonged to Consort Yu, and he did not dare to let it envelop him. Slapping his storage bag, Su Zimo took out a grayish-black mountain. It was the ancient unique treasure, the Mystic Magnet Mountain. He wanted to make use of the power of the Mystic Magnet Mountain to restrain the fire-blocking basket. However, after the Mystic Magnet Mountain descended, the fire-blocking basket did not budge at all. Not good. Su Zimo's heart sank. The fire-blocking basket was made of metal. However, There were some rare metal materials in Tianhuang mainland that were not attracted by the magnetism at all. In other words, the Mystic Magnet Mountain was useless against the fire-blocking basket. In a fight of this level, a single mistake in judgment could cause one to fall into a disadvantageous position or even die. A huge shadow loomed over. The center of the fire-blocking basket exuded a strong suction force, forming a domain that Su Zimo could not break free from. However, Tao Lord Xian Yu had already seized the opportunity to close in. Instantly, the situation reversed. Su Zimo was in immense danger. "Your Highness, hurry and attack." Little Fox was anxious and urged hurriedly, "Just retrieve the fire-blocking basket and leave the rest to young Master Su." The white-robed woman was unmoved and shook her head. The loss of the fire-blocking basket was caused by him to begin with. It's only right that he retrieves it personally. Furthermore, he's the one who challenged Xian Yu. Why should I interfere? If he can't even get through this, how will he protect you in the future? Go. Right then, a soft shout sounded from the battlefield. A green lotus platform flew out of Su Zimo's sea of consciousness with 6 petals blossoming. Multicolored light filled the air as it smashed towards the fire-blocking basket. The creation green lotus. The 2 Dharmic weapons collided with a loud bang. The fire-blocking basket wanted to envelop him, but the creation lotus platform was beneath it, blocking the fire-blocking basket. For a moment, the 2 Dharmic weapons were evenly matched. However, that delay was enough for Tao Lord Xian Yu to arrive before him. His blood chi surged as he threw a punch that shone brightly with an incomparably violent aura. Su Zimo could only counter with a punch. Bang! The 2 fists collided. The collision between flesh and bones gave off a jarring sound. Tao Lord Xian Yu's blood chi was clearly much stronger and suppressed Su Zimo completely. Ugh! Su Zimo grunted and took half a step back. Tao Lord Xian Yu strode forward and pushed his hands forward from his chest. As though he was hugging a gigantic mountain, he descended and shouted, "Mountain-hugging fist." A terrifying power arrived with a mountain. At that moment, all techniques were useless. Su Zimo raised his arms and blocked. Boom! His body shuddered, and a berserk power surged into his body. His organs vibrated, and his blood chi surged as his teeth ached. His figure was sent flying. In the end, he was still forced into melee combat. After reconstruction, Desolate Marshal's body is still a little weak. If Tao Lord Xian Yu finds an opening, he'll probably be beaten to death. That's right. Given Tao Lord Xian Yu's combat strength, he won't give Desolate Marshal any chance to retaliate. The cultivators discussed when they saw that. In reality, it was not because the Green Lotus True Body was not strong enough. After obtaining the nourishment of the primordial divine spring, the Green Lotus True Body was already rather powerful and could suppress those of the same cultivation realm. If Tao Lord Xian Yu was at the Void Reversion realm, Su Zimo had absolute confidence that he would be able to fight him head-on with his Green Lotus True Body. However, the bloodline of the Green Lotus True Body was relatively ordinary. Now that he had encountered Tao Lord Xian Yu, who was at the Dharma characteristic realm, the difference in their strength was naturally much greater. However, even though he was disadvantaged, there was no hint of panic on Su Zimo's face. The lotus stem was the bone and the lotus leaves were the skin. Coupled with the fact that he had fused many ancient Dharmic weapons, it would not be easy for Tao Lord Xian Yu to severely injure his Green Lotus True Body. Su Zimo was still waiting for an opportunity. Tao Lord Xian Yu strode forward like a leech, not giving Su Zimo any chance to distance himself. 1,000-ton finger. Tao Lord Xian Yu released another terrifying melee technique. His finger was filled with blood chi, and light swirled around it as it smashed towards Su Zimo. How was that a finger? It was like a divine column that pierced through the firmaments. How could a body of flesh and blood withstand that power? However, right then, a warning flashed through Su Zimo's mind as he narrowed his eyes. There was danger. It was even more terrifying than the 1,000-ton finger. Chapter 1178, Counterattack. Chapter 1178, Counterattack. A mysterious light suddenly appeared in Tao Lord Xian Yu's eyes, resembling two sparkling gems that were even brighter than the stars in the night sky. Glass Eye. It was the legacy visual technique of Glass Palace. That visual technique was extremely powerful, and Su Zimo had witnessed it back in the Dao inheritance ground when he fought Dao Being Glass. At that time, the illumination stone was hidden in his right eye, and he had to release the illumination sword formation to break Glass Eye. But now, the illumination stone was in his dragon true body. Although the green lotus true body had also cultivated an eye technique of the fiend sex, the heavenly fiend eye focused on bewitching one's mind and did not release such pure power. The light emitted by Glass Eye was extremely terrifying. Even Dao Lord Dharmic weapons could be corroded and turned into scrap metal. If Su Zimo were to use his heavenly fiend eye to defend, his eyes would be blinded. Glass Eye and 1,000-ton finger exploded at the same time and pushed him into the most dangerous situation. Visual techniques were instantaneous. Coupled with the fact that the two of them were extremely close, it was impossible to defend against. Furthermore, Dao Lord Xian Yu's cultivation was a major realm higher than Su Zimo's to begin with. Su Zimo had a calm expression. Against the incoming 1,000-ton finger that resembled a heaven-connecting divine column, Su Zimo made a prompt decision and extended his left hand to defend. At the same time, he closed two fingers on his right hand and conjured a sword art. He raised his sword finger vertically and slashed forward 3 times. Heaven-slaying sword art. The 3 heaven-slaying sword chi burst forth at the same time and clashed against the brilliance of Glass Eye. They went against the momentum and slashed towards Dao Lord Xian Yu's face. 3 blinding sword chi burst forth. Dao Lord Xian Yu felt his vision turn white as his expression changed. Boom! The first sword chi collided with Glass Eye and exploded. The sword chi dispersed and Glass Eye also shattered instantly. Immediately after, a second and third sword chi descended with endless killing intent. This was almost Su Zimo's strongest killing technique. 3 heaven-slaying sword chi was the limit that he could release right now. The fact that the two of them were extremely close meant that Dao Lord Xian Yu had no room to dodge. Even a single sword chi could slice his head into 2, let alone 2 sword chi. In a flash, Dao Lord Xian Yu flipped his tongue and spat out an ancient mirror the size of a fingernail to defend himself. At the same time, he bit his tongue and a stream of blood essence fell onto the ancient mirror. The ancient mirror expanded rapidly and shone with Dharmic patterns, a perfect Dao Lord Dharmic weapon. The moment the ancient mirror descended, the other 2 heaven-slaying sword chi slashed down as well. Clang! The first sword chi entered the ancient mirror and vanished. The ancient mirror shook. Dao Lord Xian Yu's pupils constricted. He could clearly see fine cracks appearing on the back of the ancient mirror. That was a perfect Dao Lord Dharmic weapon. However, a Dharmic art released by a void reversion cracked it. Clang! The third sword chi descended and entered the ancient mirror. Instantly, it came to a halt as though the world had stopped. The next moment, the ancient mirror exploded. The perfect Dao Lord Dharmic weapon was shattered by 2 sword chi. Countless shards flew as Dao Lord Xian Yu stood behind the ancient mirror. Many shards surged towards him and struck him. As though he was severely injured, Dao Lord Xian Yu fell heavily into the ruins. At the same time, on the other side, the 1,000-ton finger had already collided with Su Zimo's left palm. Bang! Su Zimo's body shuddered as a terrifying and berserk power surged into his body, causing his bones to tremble. Streaks of blood appeared on the flesh of his left arm, and his sleeves exploded instantly. His figure fell from midair as well. Just as he was about to fall to the ground, he steadied himself and stood on the ruins. If not for the nourishment of the primordial divine spring beneath the 10,000 insect swamp, his green lotus true body would have been severely injured from the collision. Right now, he was only slightly injured. Compared to Su Zimo, Dao Lord Xian Yu looked much more miserable. Dao Lord Xian Yu crawled up slowly from the ruins as well. He was covered in dust and his face was pierced by many mirror shards, dripping with blood. He looked extremely hideous, Under countless gazes, Tao Lord Xian Yu channeled his blood qi, and the muscles on his face twitched. The shards that were initially pierced into his face withdrew bit by bit under the pressure of his muscles and bloodline and fell off his face. In the blink of an eye, there was not a single fragment on his face, only wounds. Such strong muscle control was an eye-opener for everyone. This was the symbol of one's body and bloodline reaching their limits. Although the fight between the two of them was short, they were using killing moves repeatedly. The slightest mistake could result in death. Look! A cultivator pointed at the two Dharmic weapons in midair, the fire-blocking basket and the creation lotus platform. All the cultivators looked over. In midair, the two Dharmic weapons were still fighting, devouring each other with brilliant lights. This is way too scary. Even in such a high-intensity and continuous fight, the two of them are still able to divert their attention to control their Dharmic weapons. The battle between the fire-blocking basket and the creation lotus platform would affect the entire situation as well. Neither of them dared to relax. Desolate Marshal, you must be very disappointed that those 3 sword chi failed to kill me, right? Suddenly, Tao Lord Xian Yu laughed. Su Zimo's expression was cold, and he remained silent. He was indeed surprised that the 3 heaven-slaying sword chi could not kill Xian Yu at such a close distance. However, he was not really disappointed. When Tao Lord Xian Yu saw that Su Zimo was silent, he thought that he had guessed correctly. He walked forward slowly and shook his head. Desolate Marshal, you've lost. The moment you revealed all your trump cards at the North Region Dao meet, you were already defeated. In order to deal with your trump cards, I was prepared. How are you going to win? Su Zimo was unmoved and merely sneered. Xian Yu, I've got too many killing moves. Let's see how many you can take. Before he finished his sentence, Su Zimo touched his glabella gently and his consciousness opened. Right on the heels of that, he yanked his palm outwards and a long whip that shone with electric arcs appeared in his consciousness. Spirit Vanquishing Whip. When the Spirit Vanquishing Whip descended, the essence spirits of the surrounding cultivators felt a throbbing sensation. If I'm not wrong, that is an ancient essence spirit secret skill. To think that this lad would obtain it and cultivate it successfully. Gasp! The power of Desolate Marshal's essence spirit has probably surpassed most Dharma characteristic Tao Lords. How did that lad cultivate his essence spirit? The appearance of the Spirit Vanquishing Whip caused the hearts of many upper sect masters and aristocratic family leaders present to skip a beat. Even they were wary of the Spirit Vanquishing Whip and would not dare to take it head-on. He really can't be allowed to continue growing. Once that lad enters the Dharma characteristic realm, all the upper sects and aristocratic families of the North region will probably have to bow down to him. The sect master of Dragon Tiger's sect thought to himself, "You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."